With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
The MX-5 Cup Series brought to you by the Precision Racing League. My name is DJ Clark, joined here by Joey Tebben in the booth with our director and producer, Connie Rematic, behind the scenes. And Joey, Bradley Holly is not here tonight, which certainly changes things up a little bit and puts all of the impetus for a good run on one man and one man alone, and that man is Kelly Greenhoe.
It's going to be an interesting championship finale because Kelly Greenhoe is not racing against anybody. He's racing against a point total. Bradley Holly has taken off to Daytona. He was hanging out. There was a whole PRL meetup of all sorts of people down there in Daytona. That's why Mark Kalin isn't here as well, but that's beside the point. Kelly Greenhoe is here, and he has one job: score every single point that is possible. He's 37 points behind Bradley Holly right now. If you win the race, get the pole position, get the fastest lap, and score 3 or less incident points, you can score 38 points. Kelly Greenhoe can win this championship, but he has to have a perfect race, and that has not been done once all season.
No, it certainly hasn't, and we'll have to see if Kelly is able to do that. It's going to be absolutely fascinating as we take a look back on where we've been over the course of the season. A combination of bull rings and some modern Formula One style circuits. But here today, we are running another one of the club style layouts, Silverstone National. Not a lot of twisty bits around here, Joey. It's going to be, I think, a pretty heavy draft dependent circuit.
It's almost like Pocono. It's a tricky triangle sort of thing. It's not exactly a triangle, but it kind of is. And as we've seen in so many previous weeks, when you put these MX-5s on a track with multiple long straights, they tend to stick together. And especially in a little bit of an interesting field tonight with a lot of the heavy hitters gone, there's still quite a few of the heavy hitters left. Kings, Greenhoe, Cabana, Berquist, Putnam, Venroy, they're still all here, and they're still all going to compete, and it looks pretty close in practice, so we could be in for a championship finale, and, well, we are in for a championship finale, but we could be in for a very exciting championship finale, is what I meant to say.
Indeed, we could be. And let's go ahead and take a look at those championship points. As we said, Bradley Holly holding the lead by that crucial margin. Kelly Greeno needing to score a point in absolutely every facet of today. Watch out for Ryan Kings, maybe to be able to jump his way up over Mark Kalin. Kalin, one of those drivers not here today. A little bit of a scrap in the back between Kevin Berquist and Ian Cabana, as well as a nice one there between Michael Chase and Charles Sumner. Chase, though, not here today, so Sumner may be able to gain some points. Another one to watch out for, David Van Roy. He was quickest during practice, so he may be one to move up in the standings here. Let's also go ahead and check out our team standings on the day, as that race is going to be a little bit closer in some other positions on the charts. Mini horsepower looking to gain some points here. R and Car Ram Rodaback, I think they're pretty much safe to not be able to take that, but they've got to watch out from behind. Crikey Esports has a chance to maybe be able to jump them with a near perfect day. Unlimited Slip, SRT Esports, and YS Motorsports, that the closest battle that we have there for the final 5th position in the team's championship order. And that is going to bring us here to qualifying on the day. Everybody getting themselves ready, getting themselves out to try to see what we've got to do. But before we get to that, and before we get to qualifying, we want to thank our many sponsors for tonight's event. First and foremost, VCO, the virtual competition organization, without which none of our action here for the Precision Racing League would be possible. We also want to give a big shout out to Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products by using the Precision5 coupon code. Also thanks to RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Also thanks to the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And finally, we'd like to thank Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And well, folks, with our bills paid here for the day, that is going to bring us right into the qualifying session. And the big news that we need to keep our eyes focused on, Kelly Greeno in the number 12, currently only good enough for P2. He's about 0.2 of a second off of Derek Putnam, who leads the way. But it looks like here that Greeno's teammate, and in the form of Ryan Kings, giving him a little bit of a tow around this Silverstone National Circuit.
And that's going to be objective number 1 here. Ryan Kings, I'm sure he wants to win another race this season. I'm sure he wants another pole this season, but his only job right now is to give Kelly Greeno the biggest tow possible and get Kelly on pole. Because if Kelly does not score the pole, he's done. He can't score enough points to win the championship. He has to start first, and he has 12 more minutes to do that. And the only way you're going to start on pole at a track like this, where it's about 90% straight, is by getting a huge draft from your teammates. So Ryan Kings, as usual, the 2 mini horsepower drivers are doing a very, very good job of working together in qualifying and building up that speed. But right now, it's more important than it's ever been.
Yeah, it certainly is, as we watch him there working his way out of Woodcut on to the main straightaway here. Remember, this national circuit a little bit reversed. We're using the old pit lane here, the old first corner that is Cobb's. You can see there Kelly trying to deal with a little bit of the pressure. He was able to not get that gap down on the last lap. It was actually Ryan Kings who improved his time up to 61 thousandths of a second behind Ryan Putnam. Putnam continuing to lead the way.
Yeah, what a lap for Derek Putnam. We talked to him a couple weeks ago at Suzuka when he ended up on the podium, and he told us that he's just been kind of entering the races, taking what comes to him, and I think he would be over the moon with a pole position, but he's still got to hold on to it for 11 more minutes. Greeno not going to improve on that lap. I think they were both just letting through. I think Andrew Sharp was ahead. A little bit of traffic management here, but they're all going to get back on. And another team that are all together here Bergquist, Cabana, and Malcolm Foster. Every single Crikey Esports driver is here in the field tonight, and right now Bergquist and Cabana are working together. Bergquist has not started on pole this season, I don't think, but he has started on pole in this series before, and Cabana's never started on pole in this series, but he only needs half a second to do it.
Yeah, there's not a lot separating the entire field here. First to ninth, only separated by 0.6 of a second as Cabana crosses over the line. Doesn't look like that's going to be an improvement. A little bit of rear-end slippage there from his teammate directly up in front of him in the form of Kevin Bergquist. That's not what you want to see here on these MX-5s. You want to keep everything nice and close together. Does look like there that the mini horsepower teammates getting off to the side there, letting the Crikey Esports team on through and nice and easy.
Just saw Austin Bartlett Chase improve a little bit, up to 17th. I don't believe he has any teammates here in the field tonight, which is unfortunate for him. But again, think back to Suzuka a couple weeks ago. How quick was he in qualifying? He almost put it on pole, and he finished third in the race after getting a penalty. And also, he does have a teammate in the field tonight, a little bit further back in the order. Actually, no, he doesn't. Just kidding. I've misidentified some of the teammates. But Austin Bartlett Chase wants to finish out the season on a high. He had a chance to win a couple weeks ago. And again, that would just be a perfect way to end this season for him or for Derek Putnam or even David Van Roy to finally get a win that they've had speed for. They just haven't quite been able to deliver at the end.
Yeah, and that's really, I think, what the absence here of car Ramrodaback drivers, particularly Holly and Kalen, are going to open up here for a bunch of these drivers. Kelly Greenhoe not able to improve on that last lap, as would be expected, considering there that Kelly did back off on that last run around. Austin Bartlett Chase able to improve one position up into 4th place, so a good run there for the 17. That's going to get him provisionally on the outside of row 2.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and then A, B, C, and he only needs 7 thousandths of a second to hop up into 3rd, so he could break up the 2 mini horsepower drivers, but more importantly, Kelly Greenhoe needs to pick up those 2 tenths to get away from Austin Bartlett Chase, and he's not been able to find it. He is driving, I think, slightly injured tonight. I saw him post on the forums that he kind of threw his back out earlier on in the week, and hasn't had much of a chance to practice, but he's back. We were watching him on the Zoom. He doesn't seem like he's too discomfortable, so hopefully he can still find that speed, because I do want to keep this championship alive. We have to remain unbiased, but I want the championship still alive. I want a reason to stick around for these 35 minutes of this race. I would really like Kelly Greenhoe to keep this alive. We'll see if that can actually happen, and Cabana just improved there, not by enough to overhaul his teammate, though.
No, but crucially enough to be able to bump down Kelly Greenhoe into 4th place. Greenhoe coming down into pit lane right now. He and his teammate Ryan King's going to be doing a little bit more formation flying. It looks like David Van Roy is going to park himself behind the number 11 of Malcolm Foster there. Foster giving a quick apology over the radio. I think a little bit of miscommunication there between himself and the number 4. But Van Roy able to continue back out and on his way, going through that Maggot's hairpin now, which is what it is that leads you on to the Wellington Straight. Saying Maggot's hairpin, Joey, that's going to be something we've got to get used to over the course of this race.
Yeah, those words don't really go together normally, but that's been the thing drivers have had to learn this season. We've been going to all sorts of weird, shortened layouts, Monza Junior, Brands Hatch Indy, this, Barcelona National, all sorts of odd layouts that have corners that you would never even consider otherwise, but you essentially have to learn these tracks as new track layouts. It's not too complicated. It's only 1 or 2 new corners, but it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a little bit disorienting when you go out for your first lap. You're like, oh, I'm going to take Maggots and Beckett's like I normally do. High speed, oh no, I have to brake here. I'm going to fire it into a wall at 200 miles per hour. I hope they're not going 200 miles per hour in an MX-5, but you get the idea.
I was going to say, if these things hit 200 miles an hour, I want to drive one of those things. But we do watch here now as Kelly Greenhoe makes his way around, starting his flying lap behind his teammate of Ryan King's. That's going to be Andrew Sharp, about 2 seconds up the road there. King's going very, very off, but I'm getting the sense here that Ryan not necessarily going for the hottest laps here. He is just trying to be that marker for Kelly, that draft partner as they work their way around now down through the Maggot's hairpin, coming onto the Wellington Straight. Looks like Kelly's in pretty much a calm and cool and collected way to go. Gonna pass his teammate here potentially? Nope, just a little bit of communication, a little bit of chatter there, a little bit of laughter among teammates.
It's traffic management again, and they found the back of Andrew Sharp again. I don't know how these 3 keep finding each other, but they've got to figure out a way to separate from each other. I think they think they're going to get held up by Andrew Sharp, which I mean, I guess might be a valid concern. He's been 7/10 off them in qualifying, but they can't get away from him, and eventually they just have to give up and go for it anyway. If they can time this right, Kings might get a draft from Andrew Sharp, and then Mr. Greenhoe might get a draft from both of them. So a double draft could be what Kelly Greenhoe needs for pole, but he's got 5 more minutes elapsed to do here. We'll see if the double draft comes off. We'll see if Sharp can be fast enough to not hold up Kings.
Yeah, we'll see indeed. You saw there that quick shot of David Van Roy in the pits. Looked like he's getting a fresh set of boots, putting on his Mazda as they go. Greenhoe, I think, a little bit wide there on the exit of Copse, but he was able to keep it together as now they work their way down into the Maggotts hairpin, waiting to see what this number 12 can do, waiting to see how close he's going to be through Sector 1. Greenhoe waiting. This is the moment on the track where you can really start to take a breath, and you can see Kelly really doing that right there, just trying to relax a little bit as he went through that corner.
Yeah, he got too wide there in that hairpin and really just killed his run onto the straight, so I think he's already kind of given up on this lap. He's probably going to do a nice little dime into the corner here in Brooklands. He's actually going to lose the car a little bit. That's going to kill his momentum. Oh my goodness, he's shaking the camera. He's correcting it so much, and he elects to just pit it. The tires seem to be falling off of that car. If I was him, I'd be putting another set of tires on, and I'd go for one last desperate move, but that is going to be the word in Kelly Greenhoe's mind right now. Desperation. He's only got 4 minutes. That's like 2 or 3 more laps, theoretically, depending on how fast he gets out, and that's going to be the difference for if he can fight for a championship tonight or not.
Yeah, it is, and he is going to immediately be able to get back out on track, so almost no time wasted there for the number 12 immediately going. We're going to follow his teammate, though, Ryan Kings, who does currently sit in second place, only 61 thousandths of a second off of your provisional pole sitter, Derek Putnam. Kings going to be hoping to get a good little helping of the draft here. He was particularly quick through that first sector, I have to say. Very, very quick. One of the fastest times I've actually seen put down on the day, and with just as little time as there exists, that could be all he needs. A little bit of a wide run there coming out of Brooklands, now down through Luffield. Let's see if he can avoid the same pitfalls that his teammate did and be able to keep that rear end of the MX-5 underneath him. Looks like he was able to do just that. Now coming down through Woodcut. Let's see what kind of time this can be here for Ryan Kings. He's going to get a big helping of the draft, and he's going to come across the line with a 105.461. That's not going to be good enough.
And that's a good thing, I think. In the teammate game, Ryan Kings does not want to improve here. He doesn't want to set down an absolute flyer and set down a time that Kelly Greenhoe can't beat because, again, that's going to wipe his teammate out of championship contention. So he's still pushing with everything he's got. He's going to get by Andrew Sharp here eventually, but he's got to find Kelly again. There's only 3 minutes left. There's only so much time left in the session. I don't know where Kelly is on track right now, but I imagine Kings is going to back off here soon and find his teammate who's a few corners back right now.
Looks like he is coming down through the Wellington, or the Maggotts hairpin right now onto the back straightaway here, the Wellington straight. So that is where Kelly Greenhoe is at the moment. Waiting to see what Kings can do his teammate. Not seeing any green sectors getting set down. I can tell you Austin Bartlett Chase set a personal best down in the first sector on the last lap. So that's a good run there for ABC as he comes down now into Brooklands. Let's see if the number 17 is going to be able to carry a little bit more speed.
There's been a surprising amount of speed on laps that don't have a draft. Derek Putnam, I think he got a little bit of help, but Ryan King set his lap with mostly no draft. So let's see what Austin can do. He's had a quick lap with no draft. He only needs to find 0.02 of a second to beat Kelly Greenhoe. 105.3 versus 105.4. Not going to improve. He's going to have 2 more shots at it, and he's not going to get much help. But I'm still looking at Kelly Greenhoe completely on his own. I don't know if he's going to find 0.2 running on his own, but there's his teammate. There's Ryan Kings. You just see the blue and orange car just peeking into the top of your screen. They're going to go for 1 more shot at it, maybe 2 more shots at it, depending on when Kelly hits the line.
Yeah, it's not going to be too much time here at all as they go. But Kelly's going to have to try to get a little bit of the draft here, as you said, pulling in behind his teammate. 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Let's see what can happen here for the number 12 driver. Both taking a very wide line there through Luffield. I think that's to maximize the momentum coming down the start-finish straightaway here right now. The gap between them is at about 1.1 seconds. I almost think you want that to be a little bit shorter, a little bit narrower, if at all possible. But here he goes, a minute left on the clock, and this is going to be his last attempt, I think.
It's his last attempt. He crossed the line at about 104, so this is going to be the last lap. And Kings, he's like a second ahead of him. He needs to back off a little bit. He needs to be within like 5 or 6 tenths of Kelly. So we'll see if he does back off in the hairpin, give him a little bit more of a draft down the Wellington straight, but he gave him nothing down the first straight. He gave him nothing after Cops. Here we go. You can see him exiting a little bit wide, kind of artificially slowing him down. And now he's going to give Kelly the full benefit of the draft here. And then at the end of this straight, it's going to be all in Kelly's hands. He's got to nail Brooklands. He's got to nail Luffield. He did not do that on his previous attempt. This is his last chance. This is championship defining here.
Yes, it is. Yeah, overcooked it down into the corner. You can see there by the expression on Kelly Greenhoe's face that he knows he overcooked it a little bit, but is he able to recover anything here as he goes? He was still fastest, setting his personal best down through Sector 2, so he may be able to move up the orders there a little bit, but I don't think he's going to have it here. Here comes the run to the line. Checkered flag in the air. What's the time going to be for Kelly Greenhoe? It's not enough. Greenhoe will start fourth, and that means Bradley Holly will win the championship.
I hope Bradley Holly's watching this broadcast at home. He's not here tonight. He's probably still... He might actually be on a plane right now flying back from Daytona or in a car or something, but congratulations, champion in absentia. I hope we get to talk to you at the start of next season, and we'll give you your true championship congratulations in person.
And there goes Charles Sumner across the line. Here comes Derek Putnam and one of the Crikey Esports drivers. Looks like Putnam was actually able to improve there on that last lap just a little bit. How you doing? 105, 135, about a hundredth of a second improvement there for the 71.
Yeah, Bradley Holly, who? Derek Putnam is my hero of the day right now. I think his previous best qualifying, it can have been better than 5th, I don't think, and he sticks it on pole.
Absolutely remarkable stuff there for him. You gotta love to see that. Oh my goodness gracious. A fantastic run there for all drivers. But once again, that big news, Greenhoe just not able to get it done. He will start 4th. And with that 4th place starting position, any chance of a championship challenge is scuppered. And that's going to bring us right into our qualifying order here. As we said, Derek Putnam going to line up in pole position. Ryan Kings to his outside. David Van Roy will start 3rd, followed by Kelly Greenhoe with Austin Bartlett Chase and Kevin Berquist rounding out your top 6. In 7th place, it'll be Ian Cabana, followed by Malcolm Foster with Andrew Sharp and Charles Sumner bringing up the back of the field. A little bit of a smaller grouping of drivers out here today, Joey, but I think with what we saw at qualifying, this is going to be a pretty hotly contested battle.
It's a smaller group of drivers, but it is a more tightly compacted group of drivers than we've seen in previous weeks. And actually, now that I think of it, we've had 11 and 12 drivers in some of the previous weeks, so it is smaller, but only by 1 or 2 drivers. And Putnam, Kings, Van Roy, Greenhoe, Austin Bartlett Chase, Berquist, Cabana, and then Foster, Sharp, and Sumner as well. That's a pretty evenly matched field. There's not a lot of I-rating spread. There's not a lot of speed spread in qualifying. And that bodes well for 10 cars being pretty close together here once the race gets going.
Yeah, probably will. As we get ready, drivers receiving final briefing here from their drivers as they go. Final briefing here from the drivers' coaches. And Joey, what is going to be your key to winning this race? Is this going to be a strategy race, or is it just all going to be about staying up behind in the draft?
Well, that's been basically unpredictable every single week. Sometimes, especially the mini horsepower drivers, they've been able to pull off strategy masterclasses. They've worked together, they save fuel. And in other weeks, they've attempted to do that, and it's failed, and they've lost the race. But there's no Car Ram Rodaback armada up front. Charles Sumner is still here, but he's 10th at the back of the field right now. No Holly, no Kalen. So there's none of them to fight with, but they're fighting with a lot of new names. And Derek Putnam on pole, a very new name to being on pole in the Precision Racing League. It's his first time, and it's very easy to crack under pressure when you're starting up front for the first time. We've seen it happen before, but we'll see if he can hang on to turn 1.
And there go the lights here at Silverstone. Good getaway there from Derek Putnam. It does look like Ryan Kings is immediately going to slot in behind there. Kelly Greenhoe going to be challenging back in the back on David Van Roy as they work their way through the first corner. And indeed, Kelly Greenhoe is going to be able to move by the number 4, putting him down in position. Van Roy looking a little bit out of position there altogether. Looks like he didn't have the best run. And now it's going to be Austin Bartlett Chase thinking about a little bit of a challenge there into the maggots hairpin. Van Roy closing up during braking though, trying to run that corner a little bit wide.
Kings and Greenhoe need to find a way to swallow up Derek Putnam early here. Find each other at the front of the field and then start working together. But David Van Roy is going to peek to the inside of Kelly Greenhoe. He's not going to be able to get enough of a run to actually think about a move, though. But Kings is to the inside of Putnam, and Putnam isn't even going to get to lead his first lap.
Big send there for Ryan Kings coming down to the inside of Brooklands. A fantastic run there for the number 43, but it does look like Putnam's trying to fight back a little bit. Runs wide on the exit of Luffield. That's going to open up the door for Kings' teammate, Kelly Greenhoe, but there's a little bit of a shut in it. Kelly does not want to risk anything here, I get the sense. And here comes Putnam on a little bit of an attack. We ride on board right now with the number 12 as they cross over the start-finish line, coming down into Cops right now, waiting to see if anything's going to fire off a little bit of a straight here before they come into maggots, and it does look like it is Putnam in prime position here if he wants to try to pull a little bit of a move the rest of the field in single file order.
Yeah, Putnam and Greenhoe, they were both very tentative coming into Cops, and I can't really blame them. 33 minutes left in the race, no reason to send the dive through there. But Putnam is struggling just a little bit right now. He had the speed in qualifying. He had a lot of pace over a single lap. But now that he's interacting with some of the lead drivers in this series for the first time, on track in the race, he lost the lead to Kings, and Greenhoe's all over the back of him. So he's just got to make sure, keep pressure off yourself, keep it cool. Ryan Kings hasn't kept it cool. He's just blown up Brooklands. I'm not going to say Derek Putnam's not keeping it cool, because it seems like the leaders can't either.
Exactly. That's always a tricky braking zone, no matter what kind of machinery or layout you are in here at Silverstone. But everything's going to stay single file in the same way that it was up front. We watch Kelly Greenhoe there in the number 12. Oh, we've got a car off in the back. That's Malcolm Foster.
Looks like he does have heavy damage there to the inside of the right side of the car. Did he just lose it on his own on the exit of Brooklands? It looks like, yeah, just lost it on his own, unfortunately, and couldn't save it. Clonks the wall. Very, very hard arm code there, and that's a destroyed car for Malcolm Foster right now. He's trying to get it into the pits, but crikey, Malcolm, I don't think that's going to work.
I don't think it's going to work either, as that certainly does send him down a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he took a little bit of a tow. No, it looks like he's going to stay there, and now he's going to take a tow. Meanwhile, up front, here comes Putnam for the lead, going down into Brooklands. He's got to be later on the binders. This is exactly what we saw Ryan Kings do to him on the first lap, and a good move. Kings is going to slot into line there behind them. You can see Austin Bartlett Chase in that bright yellow machine trying to get a little bit of aggressive as well, but Kings looking for a little bit of a crossover here coming out of Luffield. That's not going to play out. He's going to have to stay in single file order here, maybe try this again. But what these two are doing, swapping back and forth, it looks like they're dropping time back to Kelly Greenhoe, who now finds himself under attack from David Van Roy.
This is an incredible British train here at Silverstone. Derek Putnam in the beautiful toasted plum car is just holding back every single driver back to 8th place. Charles Sumner is just kind of hanging out a little bit further back, but from 1st to 8th, there's nothing separating these drivers. It looks like a pace lap. It looks like a single file pace lap right now. And that's honestly exactly what I thought this race was going to look like in qualifying. Everybody was so close. Everybody was so evenly matched. And we literally just have an 8-car stake here at Silverstone. And that's going to make it somewhat difficult for some of the drivers at the back of the pack to pass. It's almost like a DRS train in F1. If you're 8th and the 7 cars ahead of you are getting a draft, it's hard to make the pass. But Ryan Kings tries to do it around the outside.
And that was assisted there by a little bit of a bump draft from his teammate, Kelly Greenhoe, going down the Wellington straight and down to the inside. Now goes Kings, shuts the door, runs at Putnam a little bit wide, and that could be the opportunity here for Kelly Greenhoe coming down through Woodcut. Yes, indeed, Putnam has been put offline. He's going to lose 2 positions. David Van Roy here attempting to make it 3.
He really wants to make it 3. David Van Roy does. He's had chances to win races this season. He started on the front row of the Hungaroring and got taken out by the driver who's 2 positions ahead of him, Ryan Kings. I'm sure he remembers the Hungaroring. I'm sure he remembers the speed he had at Brands Hatch Indy a few weeks earlier. David Van Roy has had the pace to win races this season, and this is his best shot yet here. He's going to go around the outside. Derek Putnam again. I don't know. Oh, he's not able to do it. I thought he was going to be able to do that. That looked like a great move, but around the outside of Derek Putnam has been a popular move. Kings was able to do it successfully, and David Van Roy really wants to try it as well.
Got a little bit more side-by-side there in the back. Austin Bartlett, Chase, and Cabana with a little bit of a duel. That brought Andrew Sharp into the equation. But as we dive down into Brooklands here, it's going to go single file again. Van Roy running a little bit wide on the exit of the corner. I thought for a second that was going to open up a door there for the number 17, but didn't quite look like anything was going to happen. A little bit of a wiggle there in the back from Austin Bartlett Chase. And now here comes Ian Cabana down the start-finish straightaway. Cabana with a heck of a run. Is he going to try to make the move going down into Copse? We've seen this go well. We've seen this go poorly, both on the sim and real life. And Cabana there going to back off and live to fight another day.
Austin Bartlett Chase goes a little bit off there at Copse. That's going to be something we have to think about as well. The off tracks, it came into consideration at Suzuka. Multiple drivers got drive-throughs for scoring too many incident points. It's easy to score those here at Silverstone, so that's going to be another thing for a driver like Austin Bartlett Chase, who's been kind of stretching the limits just a little bit. There's still 29 minutes left in the race. It came back to bite him at Suzuka. It robbed him of a chance to win, so he's going to be thinking about those points here.
And up at the front of the field, that's Kelly Greenhoe going down to the inside of his teammate into Brooklands. Dare I say that looked a little bit assisted there as Kelly gets on by. We ride on board the roll bar here of David Van Roy as he closes down behind Derek Putnam. Putnam doing a good job to hold on to that third place position. We've seen that number one get a little bit squirrely here at different points over the course of the race in the past 6 minutes or so, but he has held on well and now just holding on to the tire tracks here of Ryan Kings.
You can see from behind Kelly Greenhoe here, it's still just a train of cars, but he's actually going to go off just a little bit. Kings is actually going to fight him back, or at least he's going to think about it. And that, I don't know how wise a move that was for Ryan Kings. He backed off, he tried not to pass his teammate, and in doing that, he's about to get swallowed up by Derek Putnam, who's going to try and go around the outside, but it's not quite going to work. Austin Bartlett Chase and Ian Cabana also almost drive each other off the road in the background. It's completely clean up front for Kelly Greenhoe, but everybody behind him is kind of going insane.
Yeah, they are, and here comes Putnam down to the inside of Brooklands, going down into the corner off the Wellington Straight. Shutting the door, though, is Ryan Kings, and that's going to put Putnam on a little bit of a counter line. I think he, in turn, shut the door there to David Van Roy. Van Roy having to stomp on the brakes to make sure that nothing was going to happen there. Just seeing Austin Bartlett Chase taking a little bit of a wider run there off of Luffield. That can work to carry you a little bit of speed, and look at that. Kelly Greenhoe trying to cut the track as much as possible. Now, that is legal. That is not an off track there that we saw him run, just for the eagle-eyed viewers to keep an eye on. But as they work their way through Copse right now, everybody's still single file. Little bit of movement there from Ryan Kings as they try to figure out where to go.
I have a feeling that it might look a little bit like this for about 15 more minutes or about 10 more minutes until pit stops finally come into consideration. There's been some insanity in the back half of the field, especially some of the drivers like Derek Putnam, David Van Roy, who are trying to break up the two teammates. But up front, these two mini horsepower drivers, their only agenda right now is to work together and hold the two spots up front. As long as they don't get overhauled, they can do whatever they want on pit strategy. They can work together on the outlap. They can keep up all the speed they want, but they've got to stick together. And it's so helpful to have a teammate like both of them have. There's only two other drivers in this field that have teammates, and that is the best thing you can possibly have up at the front of the race. You've got Ryan Kings on defense. You got Kelly Greenhoe controlling the pace, and it's going to be hard to break that up unless there's a mistake from either one of them.
Yeah, I think you're right, but David Van Roy trying to be able to maybe take a little bit of a look going down into Copse as the sun starts to set here just a little bit. We are running at about 6:40 p.m. virtual standard time, so watch for everything to keep getting a little bit cooler. Track temperatures right now holding at about 72 degrees. But that look from Van Roy certainly didn't look like it played out all that well, and in turn, Derek Putnam is going to start to apply a little bit of pressure there to the back of Ryan Kings. Van Roy able to close up there, though, through the Maggots hairpin as they once again work their way onto the Wellington Straight. Looks like that bump draft that we saw come into play last time for the two mini horsepower teams isn't going to work. Here comes three wide going down into Brooklands. That's going to be Greenhoe able to hold it out, but Putnam with a big move, a little dab of the brakes mid-corner to make sure he doesn't over-rotate the car. Kings is going to try to fight back on him as they come down through the corner side by side through Brooklands as they now go through Luffield, waiting to see, and I think that's going to be advantage back to Ryan Kings. Yes, it is.
But now he's got a huge gap up to his teammate. He's going to be really vulnerable to Derek Putnam coming into Cops. They're going to fan out 3 wide again, but Ryan Kings has been doing a masterful job here of defending. He's been sticking his car in the inside. He hasn't been overcooking it too badly, and that's why he's been able to keep Putnam and Van Roy behind. This is very hard to pass around the outside unless you have an extreme speed advantage. You're going to see the same thing here into the Maggots hairpin. If Putnam can go around the outside here, he's going to have to be much later on the brakes, and you just saw there, it did not happen. David Van Roy's too late on the brakes, and he's going to fall almost to the back of this train now. Kings made a mistake as well. It's all falling apart, and Kelly Greenhoe's just running away.
Yes, it is, but as we look back further in the field, you can see a little bit of ants marching there 2 by 2 by 2 all the way back through, as that is going to be Putnam trying to outbreak Austin Bartlett Chase down into the corner. Yes, he is. Once everything's said and done, Austin Bartlett Chase is going to gain that position over David Van Roy. Van Roy trying to cut off Ian Cabana, but forced onto the outside there of Luffield as they come down through the corner. Who's going to have that advantage? That's wait to be seen here, as it looks like Van Roy is going to be able to hold on to P5 for the moment.
For the moment, at least, but there's a very hungry Cabana and Andrew Sharp and Kevin Berquist right behind. It would probably be in Kelly Greenhoe's best interest, I think, to back up just a little bit here, let Ryan Kings get closer and make sure he has that defense, because if Ryan Kings gets swallowed here, he's not going to have that defense of a teammate behind him anymore. It's going to be Putnam versus Greenhoe, or it's going to be Bartlett Chase, or it's going to be Van Roy, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive on Kelly Greenhoe to take the lead than Ryan Kings would be. But it looks like they are catching Kelly Greenhoe one way or another, even with Kings battling so aggressively for second and third. They are still catching Kelly. They're still sticking within a second, but they can't do that for too much longer because Kelly will just be running away. Putnam's not going to be able to make the outside work here again. Kings is still going to hang on, but he's got to figure out a way to close the gap down, because you can stick with Kelly Greenhoe 8/10ths back. That's perfectly fine, but you also want to close that down. You want to get back in contention. You don't just want to be barely within draft range.
And it looked like there that Austin Bartlett Chase kind of sticking his nose this way and that, looking for a little bit of an advantage. But Putnam here in that plum car, as you said, really the aggressor here in the middle stages of this race, trying to find what he is going to be able to get. They work their way through cops. We've seen him be able to carry a good amount of speed through this fast right-hander. He's going to come up behind. I don't think he's going to be close enough to really send a move down into Maggots here at this point. But don't sleep here on Austin Bartlett Chase. That number 17 has looked very aggressive. Multiple lines being taken there as they go out of Maggots right now, waiting to see. It looks like the closest running here is going to be between the 71 of Putnam and the 43 of Kings as they work their way onto the Wellington Straight.
And right now, I would say that every single one of these drivers in the field right now could win this race. I'm not even going to count Charles Sumner out. He's lost the train a little bit, but he's been sticking very well, about 1.6 seconds behind the train. When they fight a little bit harder, when they slow each other down a little bit more, he does close it down, but he's not losing them. He's still sticking within like a 4-second window here. So all 9 cars here left on track, I think, are all very much going to be in consideration for the win. And whenever the pit stop cycle comes around, I have to imagine it'll be in about 5 minutes or so at halfway in the race. Who knows who's going to come out on top? There's 2 seconds between the top 8, and that's just the barest of pit bobbles that could switch everything.
Yeah, it certainly is. Good run there out of the corner, though, for Austin Bartlett Chase. Looks like he's going to be a little bit closer. In other news, Ryan Kings has been able to close down. Big send for ABC down to the inside, barely getting that car stopped before he made contact with the back of Ryan Kings, and that really put Putnam offline. As now David Van Roy's going to have a little bit of a bite at the apple, and we might have a little bit of 3 wide coming down into Brooklands.
David Van Roy does exactly what I was thinking. Back out. 3 wide's probably not smart right now to stick behind. But Austin Bartlett Chase on the outside trying to get back by Derek Putnam. That was an incredible send into the hairpin. I was amazed he actually got that car slowed down. I think Derek Putnam gave him a little bit more room to ensure that he could do that. But here comes Kelly Greenhoe in, and he's going to be the only one. Kings does make it in, just barely. Very lucky he didn't clip the grass here, but pit stops are starting 5 minutes earlier than I thought they might.
Yeah, just a little bit short of halfway, and this is the strategy that we've seen Team Mini Horsepower use many a time over the course of the season, coming in a little bit early, trying to get some clean air, but working together to keep that draft working. So this is going to be a good play. Let's see if either of them have any problems there getting into the box. It doesn't look like it. I think everybody's going to sort itself out. Meanwhile, back up the front of the field, Putnam continues to lead now provisionally. looks like there that David Van Roy got a pretty good run off at the corner. He's going to put a challenge on Austin Bartlett Chase, and they're going to go into a little bit of a drag race. At least they were, until Austin Bartlett Chase's advantage is confirmed, and he's going to lead coming down here into Brooklands. Is there going to be a pass from Van Roy? No, but it does look like Austin Bartlett Chase is going to be a little bit later on the binders down into Brooklands.
And Austin's not going to let Derek get away. He's not going to let David Van Roy to the inside of him. This is going to be battling tooth and nail here, and that's why Greenhoe and Kings pitted, I think. They know that these guys have all been very, very aggressive. They've all been fighting very, very hard with each other. So they're all going to slow each other down, and you might as well get out of traffic, just run with your teammates, and you might just jump them. And that's exactly what the Crikey Esports drivers have just done as well. Cabana and Bergquist have both gotten out of this traffic. I think they've seen how aggressive Putnam and Bartlett Chase and Van Roy have been. So they're going to get out, they're going to run their own race, and they're going to hope that Austin Bartlett Chase sends another move to the inside of Derek Putnam, and they slow each other down up front, and they can get jumped in the train.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good strategy there for them, as we are seeing a lot of aggression. Great little crossover there from Austin Bartlett Chase, looking down to what will be the outside of Brooklands. But David Van Roy is going to stick behind in the draft there of Derek Putnam. How is this all going to play out for these three leading drivers? It does look like Austin Bartlett Chase is a little bit better on the binders, but he's going to have to go around the long way of the left-hander, trying to see what it's going to do. That's not going to play itself out, and Putnam's going to shut the door in front of him. But let's keep on riding to see if any of these leading drivers opt to come down pit lane. I think the 71 is, as is the 4. It looks like Andrew Sharp, and that's going to leave the number 17 of Austin Bartlett Chase all out and by his lonesome.
All right, Austin, you got one job now. Drive a qualifying lap, fastest lap you've ever driven at Silverstone, and hope you'll end up in the train. But everybody else has come down. Putnam, Van Roy, Andrew Sharp, who I think has kind of been the underdog of the race here. I mentioned him in qualifying as kind of a roadblock to the mini horsepower drivers, and he has not been that at all in the race. He's done a fantastic job holding with the train. He's been battling, and he was up as high as 4th place before everybody came in here. It was about 16 seconds in the box for everybody else. 16, 16.7, 16.4. So we'll see what the number is for Putnam, for Van Roy, for Sharp. Looks about the same. We'll see how the merge goes.
Yes, we will, as there comes Kelly Greenhoe streaking on by, and it looks like he's going to have the advantage, but only by just, as he and Kings are going to be able to do it. The 774, though, Ian Cabana is the big mover in the course of that pit stop, as he's been able to move up about 4 spots and grab on to what we assume will be 3rd place.
And I'm pretty happy at how well this train is kind of stuck together. They've obviously separated a little bit. It's not the same 8 cars within 2 seconds as we saw before the pit cycle started, but it's still pretty close, and I think they are actually going to form up into a similar train. And we'll see if Austin Bartlett Chase can still join them. He's stayed out for longer than anybody else. He's going to have to likely put less fuel in the car because of that, but we can only wait. It didn't quite work out for Derek Putnam. He went from leading the race to falling down to 3rd again, but here we go.
And there was contact there between Putnam and Cabana coming down through Luffield, and that's going to spin the 774 right around and likely put a potential roadblock there to any chance he had of getting up onto the podium. But here is Austin Bartlett Chase. Where is he going to come out? He is out of pit lane right now. Greenhoe, Kings on by. How is he going to be in response to Derek Putnam? Putnam's coming up like a train with a full head of steam here as they get there ready to break down into maggots. It's going to be Chase down to the inside, ABC, but Putnam carries the momentum. Can he get it wound up in time? Yes, he can. The number 71 is going to hold on to P3.
And now he's got to figure out how to work up to those 2 mini horsepower drivers. We're going to take a look at what happened to Ian Cabana here. Putnam in the plum car, peaks to the inside. This has been kind of a dicey zone into Brooklands here. Looks fairly normal. Cabana gets a little bit wide. Oh, and it's actually Cabana getting into Putnam. Putnam, I don't think, did anything wrong there. Cabana didn't really do anything wrong either. He kept it on the apex, but he just washed up that teensy little bit too much, clipped the door of Putnam, and spun himself around, and he's now 7 seconds behind the pack. That's going to be very disappointing for him. He's the first driver who's really lost the train in the first 20 minutes of this race, other than Charles Sumner.
Yeah, indeed he has, but the train continues to live on strong up at the front of the field. Derek Putnam, by the way, just setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:05.293. So he is certainly charging on here, trying to be able to close back on the back of these Team Mini Horsepower drivers with only about 15 minutes left to go in this race at the Silverstone National Circuit. Not the best entrance in there to the corner for Kelly Greenhoe, but he's going to stick behind his teammate Ryan Kings right there as Putnam runs very, very wide, and David Van Roy behind, able to send a little bit of a move onto the inside of Austin Bartlett Chase. That's going to move Van Roy up into P4.
Austin Bartlett Chase has not really figured out the Maggot's hairpin yet. It's kind of unpredictable. Every time he sends it through there, I don't think he can predict whether he's going to make the corner or not. I'm very happy that he hasn't gone so far as to clip the gravel and spin, but it has been a mystery every time he goes through there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that time it very much did not. He's going to lose the spot to David Van Roy. But luckily, Van Roy is doing a good job on this lap. He's kept the gap to Putnam in about 0.8 of a second. So again, we're not going to separate the train too much. There's still 5 drivers, probably 6 drivers with Andrew Sharp right behind. I think once the top 5 converge a little bit more, start battling a little bit more, that's when Andrew Sharp will be able to get in on the fight here. But right now, looks like we've got about half the train left, and every single one of them, again, I said it 10 minutes ago, every single one of these drivers can still win this race.
Yeah, they certainly can as we focus here on ABC. The back end of this train just a little bit. Andrew Sharp holding off, but just a hair out of draft range. He's about 1.1 seconds behind, so he's going to have to hustle just a little bit more to try to close back in on this train and really give himself a chance to be able to get himself into position. But right now, everybody's staying single file as they work their way down into Brooklands. Whoa! That was a little bit of a check up there for Putnam, who carried a lot of speed down into the left-hander and nearly got into the back of Kelly Greenhoe.
Greenhoe, I don't know when he's going to start thinking about getting past Ryan Kings. Maybe in like 10 minutes time, that's when teammate orders will go out the window, and that's when they can start finally battling each other. But right now, they are just kind of flying in formation. They're doing the same thing they did before the pit cycle that allowed them to keep the lead here. They're working together. They're making sure that there's a wall behind Ryan Kings that's able to preserve a mini horsepower 1-2, but eventually that's got to go out the window. Kelly Greenhoe hasn't won this season. Ryan Kings has only won once. They both arguably should have more than that, and we'll have to see which one of them can get that second win or that first win. And if they both take each other out, Derek Putnam is right there to pick up his first win.
Yes, he certainly is, and let's not discount David Van Roy as well, who's been closing in on the back of this battle there in that gray liveried machine, as there's a little bit of a peek to the inside for Kelly Greenhoe. Is this a little bit of formation flying maybe, or maybe just a little bit of defense there on the back of Derek Putnam? But Putnam sees it coming, dives down to the inside there of Luffield, but shuts the door, does Kelly Greenhoe, not letting that happen, and they're going to stay in single file order. David Van Roy maybe licking his lips here a little bit, trying to pick up some of the pieces of that scrap up in front of him, and Austin Bartlett Chase certainly not out of this as well.
I think that was a legitimate attempt at a move by Kelly Greenhoe. I think my question of when do the teammate orders go out the window, I think the answer might be right now. I think that was a dive to the inside of Kings legitimately by Kelly Greenhoe. I think he knows that he might not have the pace of his teammate right now, so if he's going to make the move for the lead, he's not going to be able to wait very long. And now he's got Derek Putnam again, very aggressive to the back of him. Kelly Greenhoe almost gets into the back of his teammate, but watch again down here into Lovefield. If Kelly Greenhoe makes that same peak, I think that's going to tell us what we need to know if he's serious about taking this win right now with 12 minutes to go.
Well, they're going to come down there, and they're going to be dropping Putnam a little bit off of that speed, and I actually think here David Van Roy may be able to send that car down up to the inside. No peak there for Kelly Greenhoe, but a definite look for David Van Roy, who tries to get it out there, but the 71's going to hold it down to the inside line. That's going to check up Van Roy, and after all of that action, they're going to stay in the exact same way that they entered into the corner. Kings, Greenhoe, Putnam, Van Roy, and Bartlett Chase, your top 5 here with only about 11 minutes left to go. Van Roy's got a great run, though, it has to be said, coming out of Woodcut. He's going to have a little bit of a poke to the inside here of Cops, but I don't think he's going to go for the move. I'll tell you who did, and that's Derek Putnam. Makes contact with Kelly Greenhoe, and that's going to spin half the field.
And that is so disappointing. That breaks up this incredible battle, and Andrew Sharp, he says, maybe it was a good thing that I lost 1.5 seconds and I lost the pack, because I'm going to pass all of you. I'm going to easily take second here, but That is so disappointing. That was such a great fight. 5 drivers in contention for the victory, and now it looks like there's 1 as long as he doesn't make a mistake. But let's take a look at what happened. Greenhoe backs off of his teammate, doesn't want to go for the move. Putnam goes for the send and just drives into the side of Greenhoe, unfortunately. And Van Roy and Bartlett Chase had no time to react. That's just so disappointing for the strongest drivers in this race, the most aggressive drivers in this race. They've all been taken out.
And I've sadly got to put the blame on that on the 71. That just looked like a little bit of a too hot run coming down into the corner. There you can see it. Kelly gave him a little bit of space there, but there was no way he was ever going to be able to make that corner. Let's watch on board with the 71 here. I mean, he really did just come from miles back to try this move. And that's Kelly Greenhoe right there up ahead of him. You can see dives down to the inside. That was a door that was always going to close, Joey.
Yeah, definitely not intentional. He just overcooked it a little bit, but I get F1 flashbacks. You always see somebody trying that move at cops, and it always ends in disaster. And it's a difficult corner. It's a difficult braking zone, especially in Miata, where you want to take as much speed as possible. But let's ride on board with Andrew Sharp here. The C's part in front of him. He sees the smoke. He sees every single one of his competitors taken out. I'm sure he was hoping that one more of them got taken out and he could take the lead, but the C's part, he takes second. He's still got a fight with Kelly Greenhoe and Bartlett Chase here for the podium, but second place for Andrew Sharp, I think, is about 6 spots better than he was expecting.
Yeah, I think it was as well. I don't believe we've really seen him be consistently in the top 5 over the course of this season. We'd have to check the individual stats on that. But this does set up a nice little battle here. Further back in the field, Cabana and Sumner now running nose to tail as they work their way out of Woodcut right now.
Charles Sumner has been kind of brought back into the equation here a little bit. It's only in the fight for 6th, but it's still better than 10th where he was before. Ian Cabana is on a recovery drive. You saw him drive into Derek Putnam a little bit earlier and spin around, but that car is undamaged, and Cabana has actually been the fastest driver on track consistently over the last couple laps since that pit cycle. He ran a 1:05.5 on the last lap, and our race leader Ryan Kings is only running 1:06.3, so I don't know. Could we think about an Ian Cabana contention for the podium? I'm not going to count it out. Look at the train; it's forming up. He could get up to Andrew Sharp here if he can keep this pace up.
Oh, I'll tell you who does have some good pace. That's Kelly Greenhoe with a big send down to the inside of Brooklyn's and easy as you please. That is going to be the number 12. Back up into 2nd position, getting that move done on Andrew Sharp. Sharp, though, has got to worry out a little bit more because he's got Austin Bartlett Chase less than a second behind him, and Kevin Burke was there going as well. So with 8 minutes left to go, we could be seeing the number 24's hopes of a podium here today starting to run out a little bit. But as they work their way on to the start-finish straightaway right now, everything looks like it's calmed down for the moment.
It has calmed down, but there's some damaged cars here. Austin Bartlett Chase definitely has a little bit of front-end damage. Derek Putnam has more, but you can see as Bartlett Chase drives through here, that yellow nose of that car is very, very crunkled, and that is going to be very, very bad news for Austin Bartlett Chase at a track where straight-line speed is more important than anything. But Andrew Sharp actually does the Bartlett Chase move there and clips the grass and the exit of Maggots, so that's going to slow him down. That's going to even everything out, but watch on the straight here. Austin Bartlett Chase is just not really able to close. That car is definitely struggling for straight line speed, but if Austin can make the move in a corner where he seems to be a little bit stronger, that'll be the place to do it. Unfortunately for him, he's at Silverstone National. Basically, none of the track is a corner.
Well, but you saw it there, the number 24 having a little bit of a squirrely run down through Brooklyn's love field, and that's going to be ABC.
13X.
Yeah, he's got to picked up incident points there, and that has got to be a drive-through there for the number 17. Oh, that is heartbreaking for Bartlett Chase. Does have some damage to the front of that car, but it didn't look like it was really costing him. Let's see here if he makes any indication to go down into the pits. No, that's a drive-through. That is a drive-through for incident limits.
Yeah, he got 4 incident points for the contact in that incident, which unfortunately wasn't his fault. Those were 4 X's that weren't his fault, but he also accumulated, I assume, a lot of off-tracks from some of his escapades at the Maggots hairpin, and unfortunately for Austin Bartlett Chase, another strong run, another race where he was in contention for victory. Right now it's going to end in 9th place, but it's another race for his mojo, for his motivation. I believe he will be back next season. I have not checked the list to see if he will be back. Yes, he will be back. Austin Bartlett Chase will be back next season for more MX-5s, and the fact that he's been able to compete for wins in 2 races this season, neither of them really came true, but that's going to be something to work towards next season. Maybe get the incident limits under control, because he has the speed, and I think it's a Chip Ganassi cliche. I think you can slow down a fast driver, but you can't speed up a slow one. And luckily for Austin, he's already a fast driver.
Yeah, exactly. And so that'll be something he'll be having to look at there in the off-season, just practicing those tracks a little bit more. Obviously, the next season getting announced here shortly on the iRacing service. Both of these leagues modeling their schedules off of the official schedules. And what we believe to be coming in is that we are going from the Advanced 5 Cup to the regular MX-5 Cup here. So we should see some bigger circuits is what we have been led to believe, as opposed to some of these short and fiddly bull rings, which I don't know about you, Joey, but I've really kind of enjoyed these circuits. They're a lot of fun to watch these cars work their way around.
I have really enjoyed these tracks because we don't see them on iRacing. I haven't seen Silverstone National or Barcelona National or Monza Junior since I used to play Forza 6 in like 2018. So it's been great to see them back on iRacing. It's been great to see them back in a little bit more serious of a context, but I also completely understand the decision for next season. Get everybody on free tracks. That's the easiest way to I think, drive up signups a little bit, to drive up participation. You don't have to buy 10 tracks. You can just go where the rookie MX-5 series is going, and hopefully that'll put on some bigger car counts next season. And we've already got the good racing. It's hard to make that even better, but we could try that too.
Yeah, we certainly can. And speaking of good racing, we've got a good battle here shaping itself up for third place on the track as the Crikey Esports drivers of Kevin Berquist and Ian Cabana have caught up to Andrew Sharp. Now, this is the battle for the final podium position in the dying stages of this race as they come up behind there in the YS Motorsports driver, trying to see if they're going to be able to get anything. Cabana going to be the first one to maybe try to get anything there in that 774. Berquist right up ahead of him as they dive their way down through Brooklands, waiting to see if anything is going to shake itself out.
Cabana has still been consistently half a second faster a lap than anybody else in the field. Unfortunately, there's only 3 minutes 30 left in the race. There's only going to be 4 laps left, and he's 5 seconds off the lead. He would need about 10 laps at this pace to catch Ryan Kings. But this has been an incredible second half of this race for Ian Cabana. Just a little mistake at Brooklands. The first mistake we really saw today from anybody in the race. Put him at the back of the train, but it's been a fantastic drive back through the field. Again, a great lap, 105.9 on that previous lap, but he is running into a little bit of a wall here in his teammate who's picked up the pieces. But Andrew Sharp, he's the one with the most pressure right now. He hasn't had a podium in this series this season, and he's got 2 very, very hungry Crikey Esports drivers behind him, one of whom is half a second faster every single lap than he is.
Yes, he is. And with the clock ticking over with about 3 minutes left to go, I believe we are going to get 3 to go at the line, if my math is correct. But a little bit of a look there in the back. That is going to be Cabana working up to the inside of Berquist. Maybe some team orders coming into play there as Berquist says, I want this position.
And he gets that position fairly easily, and Cabana does, so to the inside of Berquist. Berquist left him a lot of room, and now he is all on his lonesome to fight with Andrew Sharp. I think that'll be a fairly straightforward move. And then he's got to look even further ahead to Kelly Greenhoe, who has been catching Ryan Kings little by little, only by about 0.2 per lap. But I don't think we can count Ian Cabana out for second place. If he can get by Andrew Sharp here quick enough, he might be able to catch up to Kelly Greenhoe. But it looks like Andrew Sharp is going to be a little bit more of a wall than I thought. But look for a move into Brooklands, I think, because Ian Cabana was able to make that move on Kevin Berquist fairly easily. He's going to get a good exit here out of the Magus hairpin. It's going to be an incredible exit. He's already to the inside, and this should be a fairly straightforward move onto the podium for Cabana.
Well, we're going to have to see here because it did look like Andrew Sharp carried a little bit more momentum going down into Brooklands. Now for Cabana, he's just going to have to hold this out around the outside here to be able to get that cutback later onto the binders. Is that too late on the binders? No, it's not. Catches it up back under him. A brilliant move there from the 774. And just as you said, Joey, he's now got to put his eyes up the road here a little bit. 1.7 seconds to try to reel into Kelly Greenhoe. I think that may be a little far back, but they do cross over the line here with 2 laps to go.
And he's got to make sure that Andrew Sharp isn't able to go for a move on him into Cops. He's lucky he has a teammate. Kevin Berquist is actually going to fight with Andrew Sharp. That's going to prevent Andrew from being able to challenge Ian here, I think. But Berquist wasn't able to send it to the inside, so Andrew Sharp is not going anywhere. He might be better on offense than I thought here. He's stuck very well in the back of Cabana. It's just going to be critical here at the Maggot's hairpin. Andrew Sharp kind of overcooked it on the last lap, but he's far sharper. No pun intended that time onto the apex. It's a far better run. Andrew's coming back. If he can get into the draft, and Cabana waits a little bit long to actually get into the draft. He wasn't able to be later on the brakes on the last lap, but he's running out of chances. He might as well send it here. It's the last podium of the season, but Bergqvist is the one who's going to do the sending instead.
Yeah, Burke was trying to look down to the inside there, but that's not going to play itself out as they work their way through the corner, trying to see what they can do. Diving it around, letting the car run up a little bit, driving to the white flag here is Ryan Kings, and I do believe that Kings is coming to the line right now, but now here comes Bergqvist down to the inside of Sharp, going through Woodcut, and I think that is going to be moved relatively done and dusted. Sharp tries to continue on there, tries to hold on that fight, but that's going to be the inside line, the inside preference for Kevin Bergqvist, and yes, in just a couple of laps, Sharp finds himself down out of the podium and down 2 positions.
And that decides the podium for Ian Cabana. I think Bergqvist was able to make the move on Sharp. They slowed each other down. They built up the gap to Cabana, so he's got nothing to worry about. Even if Sharp is able to repass Bergqvist, which he might just do, he almost gets to the back bumper of Bergqvist there through the corner, but that's basically the podium decided for Ian Cabana, and what a drive back it's been. The spin to the podium. If Kings and Greenhill were a little bit closer, he might have had a shot at a spin and win, but a very strong result either way, and a very impressive podium. Maybe the drive of the season for Ian Cabana.
Yeah, maybe indeed. Oh, as that is Sharp really trying to chuck it down into Brooklands, and I think that's going to cost him any chance that he has of being able to get that attack done. But we've got to focus here on the number 43, Ryan Kings for Mini Horsepower, coming out of the final corner right now, and he will cross over the line to take victory here in the final round of the PRL MX-5 Cup Series. That is going to be victory at Silverstone for Kings. His teammate Greenhill comes in behind him. Cabana and Bergqvist and Sharp round out your top 5. Little bit of a battle here in the back. David Van Roy trying to hold off on Derek Putnam, and it looks like he's going to be able to do just that.
I think Ryan Kings is going to agree with the word I'm about to use here. Finally, Kings and Greenhill finally bring it home 1-2. Kings finally brings it home in the lead of the race. He's had so many chances to do that this season. He will readily admit that he's made too many mistakes, but he finally had a perfect race here at the end of the season, and that's the best thing to do for his confidence coming into next season. I believe he also might have won the last race in the F4 series last week on Thursday, so 2 wins to end the season for Ryan Kings. Ryan Kings is going to be on a very, very hot streak coming into next season. Watch out.
Yes, he is. And let's run you down through that final finishing order. As we said, it was Kings from Greenhill, from Cabana on your podium. Kevin Bergqvist came home in P4, followed by Andrew Sharp with Charles Sumner and David Van Roy in 7th. 8th place was Derek Putnam, followed by Austin Bartlett Chase. And then Malcolm Foster is going to round out your finishers here today. And that's going to bring us right over to our interviews. And waiting for us is Mr. Ryan Kings, your victor here today. Ryan, taking a win on the last race of the season, that's got to feel pretty good. Maybe carry a little momentum into the next season.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's been far too long since I've had an interview here and been on the podium. I don't think it's been since round 3, actually. So I really needed this win.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the teammate communication that you had with Kelly. It seemed like you guys were really working together there early in the race. Obviously, the incident kind of scuppered a lot of that, but how much were you two on the pipe with one another?
Constantly the entire race, giving each other drafts to help defend from each other, try and help with fuel. It was pretty important on this track to save out the fuel, so we're trying to work that as well.
Well, and I can't ask my traditional question of are you excited for next round, so I'm going to pose it to you in a little bit of a different way. What track do you want to see on the schedule for next season?
Personally, my 2 favorites are Long Beach and Bathurst. I really love circuits where the walls are close and you really need a lot of precision to drive it.
Okay, you are a crazy man. I do not know how you managed to circulate it, but we'll have to see. Hopefully they'll be on there next season.
Yeah, let's hope so. I do want to give out a shout out to Bradley Harley. Shame he couldn't race today. He's a really deserving champion, and he was brilliant this season.
Well, there you go, Ryan. Anybody else you want to thank, though, for the victory today?
Of course, my teammate Kelly as well. He's been a great teammate this whole season, and I hope we can do it again next season.
All right. Well, Ryan, thank you so much, and congratulations on taking this victory here today.
Thank you.
All right. That was your victor, Ryan Kings. And Joey, now I believe you have caught up with his teammate, Kelly Greenhill.
Well, Kelly Greenhoe, I think you knew it was an uphill battle coming into tonight. It was you versus the points. You needed every point possible, but you still got to feel pretty good about second place in the championship, though.
Yeah. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But hey, I'm happy. Second place is nothing to shake a stick at. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I kept going back and forth with the points. I thought I had a chance. Then I was like, oh no, it doesn't matter because of the drop week. But then I forgot you couldn't have the drop week as the last week. So then, as of this morning, I realized I still had a chance and hadn't had any practice because I threw my back out last week. But it is what it is. We'll do it again next season.
We will do it again next season, indeed. And I see that you and Ryan Kings, you're both signed up. The teammate dynamics that we've seen, you guys worked together very, very well all season long. You finally got that second one, too. Why do you two work so well together? Why do you two work so well together as a team?
I don't know, man. We get it. There's quite a bit of, he's quite a bit younger than me, but I'm pretty young at heart. We've just kind of clicked ever since we first talked. We both had like the same kind of livery ideas, which we both wanted like a golf livery, coincidentally. So we went with that. And we had some good battles in the first few seasons where I had never even like actually talked to him. And then I can't remember if he reached out to me or I reached out to him before this one. But yeah, hats off to Ryan. He's a great partner. We've had a lot of fun. That race, we were literally just like chit-chatting the whole time. At one point when Putnam hit me, I was like, oh shoot, was I distracted and going a little too slow there? I actually didn't realize. But yeah, super fun. I think we're going to focus a little bit more. We realized it was kind of the end of the season and it didn't really matter, quote unquote, once I didn't get the pole. But it's been fun. We clicked well and we'll be back next season together.
Kind of sounds like me and DJ in the booth. One of us is a lot younger than the other, but that's beside the point. Next season, are you going one better in the championship?
Yep, I'm taking the W. Mark my words right now. Let's do it.
Kelly Greenhoe, look for him next season. Look for both of the mini horsepower drivers. Congrats again on second place tonight and second place in the championship.
Hey, thanks to you guys, too, before I go. Unbelievable broadcast, week in, week out, even with these small fields. The energy you guys put into the broadcast is amazing. I absolutely look forward, almost even more so than the race, is to going and grabbing some dinner, cracking a beer, and watching the replay.
Well, it is certainly easy to do when you got you guys putting on the show. So congrats again, and we'll see you next season.
Take care.
Kelly Greenhoe, P2 in the championship, P2 in the race. And Ian Cabana, he was my driver of the race. He's with DJ.
Is indeed Ian Cabana, a great drive up through the field. Talk me through that from the driver's seat.
Oh yeah, I've got a good run. Pretty much a good feeling from that one. It's bad that Putman and me got a hit, but at the end, good race.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the move you were able to put down on Andrew Sharp. It looked like that was a couple of laps coming. How much planning did you really have going into that, and how much was that just opportunity right at the moment?
Yeah, Kevin tried a few times, but I think he had some damage at his car, so he let me pass to try, and it worked at the last turn. I think Andrew opened the door a little bit, and I take it.
Well, you took it well, and as we look ahead to next season, are we going to see you back for Crikey Esports? And if we are, what are some of the goals for you and for the team next year?
Do better than this year. I think season after season we improve our races, so we will try to do better next season.
Well, we wish you all in the luck in the world, Ian. Is there anybody you'd like to thank, though, for the run here today?
My teammates, Kevin, Malcolm, for this season, all the season. You and PRL guys, and all the MX-5 driver, my family and friends.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ian, and congratulations on ending the season on a podium.
Thanks, DJ.
All right, folks, that was Ian Cabana, your third place driver here today. Absolutely great stuff. And it looks like we've got time for one more interview. Joey, I believe you've caught up with our fifth place finisher, Andrew Sharp.
Well, Andrew Sharp, you kind of parted the seas a little bit. It seemed like second, third, fourth, and fifth all took each other out. You parted the seas and you were up in second for a little while there.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was not expecting that when I started that race today to be in second at one point. But it was a lot of fun hanging with the pack. I feel like I've been learning a lot this season because this is my first time in a league series, and it's been a lot of fun. So today was kind of a good way to finish it off.
So what's it been like this season? You said it's your first time in a league environment. You picked a pretty good team to do that with YS Motorsports. You've had Corey Precker showing up a couple times this season. I don't remember if Clayton Ham's been here, but either way, you've had teammates all season. You've worked well together. How's it been in your first league environment?
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. I'm enjoying having this level of competition. I feel like I'm learning a lot just watching Bradley and all the others in the top sort of going head to head. And of course, yeah, having YS Motorsports as a team has been really helpful for my development as a driver, and looking forward to next season.
So what's next season going to be like? We've been asking everybody. It's the last week, so we got to look forward. It's going to be a little bit of a different calendar, I think, but I see that you will be back. And what's going to be next season with your skills even sharper?
Hopefully some more top fives in there. Maybe something like a podium. We'll see. But obviously still learning a lot, so hope to be up there a little bit closer to the front next series.
All right. Well, congrats on the good run tonight, and we will in fact see you next season.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all your stuff all season.
That was Andrew Sharp. 5th place today, was as high as 2nd, but still, I'm sure a very positive race for him. But TJ, that's the last MX-5 interview of the season. I wish we could get Bradley Holly on the phone in the car or the plane or wherever he is, but I'm sure he'll get the news, and I'm sure he'll get the congratulations for his championship.
Yeah, I'm sure he will as well. So that will certainly wrap everything up for that MX-5 Cup season. But have no worries. We are not done here for the night because we are ready to go to one of the newest offerings here on the iRacing service. That's right. We're headed to Fuji for the GT4s.
We are headed to Fuji. A lot of drivers have been looking forward to this all season, so it's helpful that it's the last race of the season. Huge straight. I'm going to try and draw Fuji with my finger here. About half the track is straight. Then you go up, and then you got some wiggly bits, and then that's the wrong direction. But you get the idea. I've been really bad at finding my directions on this camera this week. You don't even know the start of it. But anyway, long straight's going to favor the BMW, and that's going to favor Sean Campbell very much. He already made history last week. He had the first 9-win PRL season ever. And now he's going to go one better. He's going to do a record that you can't beat. You can only tie. He's going to go for a winless season, a 10-win season here at Fuji.
A 10-win season here at Fuji. Absolutely remarkable. There is a look at where we've been. A lot of fantastic circuits being listed down there, starting the season obviously off at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Last week we were out at Road Atlanta, and Sean Campbell winning every one of those rounds. Fuji here today, though. I have some bad news for the rest of the field. I had a little bird tell me that BMW is mighty, mighty quick around here, and nobody can catch him down that long straightaway, so we could very well be in to see that P10, that 10th victory on the season, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's go ahead and look at those championship standings as well, and as you can imagine, with Campbell taking every single victory on the year, he has a monumental, insurmountable lead up ahead over Adam Brockway, but plenty of battles to be fought out for the rest of the season. Brockway, Rutherford, and Brutzione all up for grabs there. Rob Campbell and Owen Watson, a close little battle there behind, as are Lopez and Bonilla. Michael Diaz and Jeffrey Seabach rounding out your top 10. Taking a look over at the team's championship for the run, though, that looks like Precision Racing Esports holding on to a relatively narrow 35-point lead. That can swing here. Hardpoint by Delta Sports certainly able to close down on them, and if they've got a bad day, YS Motorsports GT4 can be able to pounce. A little bit farther back, though, leads us to another close battle between Lunatic Racing and Throttle Thursdays. RSR by Butt Kicker holds about a 20-point lead over Western Mass Motorsports, with Mean Guy Racing, Thin Line Racing, and 499 Racing rounding out the rest of your grid here today. And, well, Joey, to the surprise of nobody, it is Campbell up on the top of the charts right now, but not by as much as I thought he would normally be. He's only got about an 88 thousandths of a second advantage over Justin Ream. Owen Watts close there behind them as well.
The McLarens are not as slippery as the BMW in a straight line. They can keep up. They just can't overhaul it. They can't do anything in the draft, unfortunately, which is going to make passing very, very difficult. But luckily for them, there is a long straight at Fuji. but the rest of Fuji is very much not straight. It is very wiggly, especially this last sector here that we're watching the two Porsches go through of Doucette and Carangas, especially the hairpin there of turn 10, and then up the hill, it's off camber, awkward corners, blind braking zones. This is such a difficult track in any type of car. I drove this in the F3 car earlier this season, and it is almost impossible to figure out. We saw a great race in the GT3 cars as well. That was in about week 2 of this season, so GT4 cars, even with the BMW advantage, I think we're in for a somewhat evenly matched race, but right now it's evenly matched at the top, but being evenly matched in qualifying is very different from being evenly matched in race pace.
Well, exactly, and let's not forget here that the best place to make that overtake is going to be going down into turn 1, and if there is an outright speed advantage here for Sean Campbell and this BMW M4 GT4, that means you're not going to be able to get the move done. You've got to try to come up with some creative areas to maybe get it to go, so that could change things up a little bit as they go. Looks like Owen Watts, though, is in pit lane right now, maybe getting a fresh set of boots on to that car. He is about 7 seconds, or about 76 hundredths of a second off. Here is Jerome Bertillon. He has really been Mr. Consistency over the course of this season, pretty much always scoring within the top 5 or 6. And Jerome here in that BMW, maybe looking to see him move his way up through the charts a little bit.
And he's in a very slippery BMW, so it hasn't boded very well for him in qualifying so far. He's still about 8/10 off Sean Campbell, but in the race, if he's going to be driving through the field, having a very fast car in a straight line is going to be very helpful here. Adam Brockway in the Aston Martin, that's kind of a best of both worlds car. It's been okay. It, of course, hasn't won any races this season because only Sean Campbell has won races this season, and he's in a BMW, but Brockway arguably should have a win. He probably should have won at Sandown if there wasn't any rejoining funny business, but either way, P5 right now, that's a good place to pick up pieces if stuff goes crazy up front, but there's 2 McLarens and 1 Mercedes ahead of him who seem to be even stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have to see how they play out as well. That McLaren always pretty quick through the twisty bits, and that Mercedes a good all-around car. The Porsches here back in the back with Carangas and Doucette, they've really struggled over the course of this season. They haven't really had a track where they've come alive necessarily, so it's a little bit unfortunate to see them really be able to get themselves into that position. But there is Doucette as he crosses over the line right now. Let's see, he's going to be starting a flying lap here, currently only able to get a 1:47.465. That's his best time.
Doucette's been the epitome of consistency this season, though. From what I can remember, I cannot remember Greg Doucette being involved in any accidents this season, in any big accidents this season, at least, if he's been involved in any at all. He just seems to always be the driver who's kind of scuppered by the Porsche a little bit. The Porsche doesn't have the best qualifying pace, so he's usually starting down at the back of the field. But Greg Doucette doesn't get any instance. He picks up the pieces. He usually ends up in the top 10, I think, by the end of the race, or if he doesn't, it's at least in the top half of the second half of the field. And at Fuji, when we could have some calamity in turn 1, if Justin Ream or Owen Watts gets desperate and sends something to the inside and clogs up the field, Greg Doucette's going to be there to pick up the pieces and maybe get 1 more top 10 to finish off the season.
Yeah, certainly is. The other guy who I'm going to keep my eye on, this driver, Justin Ream, a relatively newcomer here, only joined up about halfway through the season. He is going to be one that has really been able to put the pressure to the back of Sean Campbell as much as possible, and maybe here today he can scupper that perfect season. We'll have to see if the geodesic driver is going to be able to do it, take advantage of that McLaren speed through some of the twisty bits.
He could have done it at Road America a couple weeks ago on his debut in the PRL, and the fuel strategy just kind of screwed him over, took him out of a chance to the victory. But on the straight here, you can just see the McLaren is struggling. I'm sure Justin is leaning forward in his chair a little bit, but no, he's kind of found the limit of the car. I think he's 30 thousandths of a second slower on that lap, and Sean Campbell found 2 more tenths, so we didn't even notice. The gap between him and Ream is not 80 thousandths of a second anymore. It is 1/4 of a second now, so that's an even bigger gap, and that is going to be even more unmotivating for Justin Ream and for Owen Watts, because unless Sean Campbell runs into trouble in turn 1, unless he gets spun around, it could very well be a Sean Campbell drives off into the sunset kind of night.
Yeah, it very well could be one of those kind of nights, but we will have to see how everything shakes itself out. As we watch here, Jerome Bertium trying to improve on that 146.243, coming across the line right now, or coming close to the line. We forget sometimes just how long this front straightaway here is at Fuji. He's going to cross over. That's going to be a little bit of an improvement there for Jerome, but it's going to keep him back in 6th place, so no move up through the field.
Needs to find about a 1/10 and a half to jump out of Brockway, which I think is possible. That BMW still got a little bit more speed in the tank. The McLaren, does this one have more speed in the tank? That's a whole nother question. Justin Ream wasn't able to improve with no draft. Owen Watts has had no help on this lap either, and he is also not going to improve, and he's basically going to do exactly the same thing Justin Ream did and be about 30 thousandths of a second slower. If I was these two McLarens, I'd be trying to work together just a little bit. Or if I was Drew Price, who's actually Owen Watts' teammate, I'd be trying to organize just a little bit. Maximize the straight line speed. Try and bring down some of those 3/10 up to Sean Campbell, because you're not going to beat that BMW. You're not going to beat Sean Campbell in qualifying alone. You're going to need a little bit of help, but I don't think they're organizing for that right now.
No, I don't think they are either, so we will have to see what... Oh, as Michael Diaz gets it wrong there, coming through the Coca-Cola corner, and that's going to spit him out to the outside as they come down through. He's going to work his way through 100R right now. Try to see what he is going to be able to do, but the 424 here, this is Lyndon Swaby in that Mercedes. He's going to power his way across the line. Not going to be an improvement there. He's going to be about a 1/10 of a second off, but he's going to have one more chance at the apple. Lap times here are at about 145, 146, and we have crossed over that point.
If Jerome can pick up any of those mythical tenths that I thought he might have in the tank, he's through the final corner. It seems pretty straightforward, but the straight is so long that once you get out of the final corner, it's still a good 10, 12 seconds until you finally get to the line, and you're just waiting to see if you can improve, and he can. He does pick up those 2/10. Is that going to be enough? I'm trying to do the math in my head. No, it's not. He still needs 9 more thousandths to jump Brockway. He's got one more shot.
Right, he's not going to be able to do that quite yet. Here comes one of the McLarens, though, Owen Watts, as he comes to the line, waiting to see if he is going to be able to improve, and he is going to cross over. I don't think this is going to be an improvement. I stand corrected, up by 1/10 of a second, but that's still not going to be enough. He's only going to be 200ths off of Justin Ream.
Yeah, this is basically a battle for the front row. Pole, I think even Owen Watts knows that's not possible right now. I think Justin Ream agrees, but they're both battling for that spot on the outside of Sean Campbell and that opportunity to jump him on the start. If you can go around the outside, if you can take advantage of the cold tires, of the trampolining of the BMW on lap 1 through the twistier sections of the track, that's where you're going to have to get by Sean Campbell if you're going to want to even slightly consider winning this race, because right now he's in complete control in qualifying. Here's another Mercedes, Keith Bonilla. It's been a good day for Yellow Stripe Motorsports so far tonight. 1 top 5, a fight for a podium, and Keith Bonilla, if he can improve here, he's going to need half a second to get into the top 6, but crazier things have happened. There's a Mercedes up there anyway.
Yes, there is, but here comes Owen Watts. Here comes Keith Bonilla working his way through the Dunlop corner right now, waiting to see if he's going to be able to get anything to go. As he brings his way out through now, going down into nets, this tricky sort of sweeping complex that works its way through the last sector of this track. Here's Michael Diaz, another one to keep an eye on. Bonilla trying to see if he can improve. I'm looking right now. It does look like he set a fast sector time through the first sector, as he's going to bring himself around, and that's going to come on up and over the curbs. That may have been a little bit of a wide run, but here he comes to the line, Joey.
I hope he didn't get any damage from hitting those giant yellow curbs. In an open wheel car, you can just destroy the car by even thinking about touching those. But here comes Bonilla, no improvement, loses 3/10. So you saw Owen Watts in the background. I think he backed off, he ditched a lap, although that might have been Drew Price. I might be mistaken. But either way, no improvement there. Michael Diaz has a draft from a Porsche up front, though. Jeffrey Seebach giving a little bit of unintentional help to Diaz, and that really helps Michael Diaz. He picks up 4/10 of a second, and he takes the front row.
And that just goes to show you just how powerful that draft is going to be around here today. And rest assured, Joey, that is what we are going to be talking about, I think, for the entirety of this 40-minute race, is the draft, the whole draft, and nothing but the draft as they get going. But that does round up our qualifying session. It does look like it. So everybody qualified here, and we're just waiting for the clock to tick over, and we can go racing for the season finale around Fuji.
And Michael Diaz is going to be saying, thank you, Jeffrey Seebach. I love you, Jeffrey Seebach. You are the hero of the day.
Indeed, but as we look at that qualifying order, it's going to be Sean Campbell in pole position, Michael Diaz in his outside. Then it'll be Justin Ream and Owen Watts, followed by Adam Brockway and Jerome Bertiome in 6th. 7th place will be Keith Bonilla, followed by Lyndon Swaby, with Darren Rutherford and the hardpoint by Delta Sport driver of Drew Price in P10. P11 will be Greg Doucette, followed by his fellow Porsche driver Nicholas Kariangas. Then it's going to be Matt Dinsmore, Jeffrey Seebach, and Brian Hoskins to round out your 15-car grid. And Joey, we get ready to go here. Not doing a full pace lap around Fuji. We will start just pretty much at the entrance of the Dunlop corner. And I've got to think for these drivers, getting this start right is absolutely crucial. You want to get as much draft as you can going down into turn 1 for the first time.
And these drivers have been very, very well behaved over the course of the season. They've been far more patient than I would be. If I was up here, if I was Justin Ream, if I was Owen Watts, if I was Michael Diaz, I'd be thinking, Sean Campbell has beat us in every single race this season. The only thing I can do is go super, super aggressive on lap 1, hope he has to back out and let me take the lead at least for a little bit. But nobody has tried that, and I think that's because they're smarter than I am. Sean Campbell, even if you try and attempt that, he is such a savvy driver. He's been in the class of the field all season. And it's just going to be impossible to beat him off the line. I'm just trying to think of ways that it could happen. And I'm sure every single other driver here in the top 4, they're also thinking the same thing. How do I beat this guy? It's going to come down to things that are outside of their hands, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too, and it's just all going to be about trying to force an error. But Sean Campbell, he's a driver that doesn't make errors. That is the biggest key here. Just waiting for the last driver to get onto the grid, Justin Ream, and it does look like Ream has gridded up, and so that means that the iRacing safety car will be rolling away here momentarily, and we will get ready to go racing for the finale of the GT4 Sprint Series. As there we ride on board with the RSR by butt kicker number 26, the ever-dominant Sean Campbell up at the front of the field.
I'm very, very thankful that it's a short pace lap. A full pace lap at Fuji would be very, 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 very terrible. We did a full lap at Road America earlier. I don't have enough Japanese-themed anecdotes to fill a full pace lap at Fuji, so I'm glad we're going green here in a matter of moments.
As am I, as they work their way now down through the next corner. Some of the great elevation change here at Fuji, one of the gems of the Japanese racing scene. They try to be able to get their way around now, going down into the final corner here through the Panasonic corner, and that long, tempting main straightaway pans out in front of them. It's going to be a side-by-side start here between Diaz and Campbell. Let's see what can happen here as they go. I have to wait a long time for that Porsche pace car to pull off into pit lane, as indeed it is about ready to do just that. 40 minutes of racing on the docket here for today, and all eyes on Sean Campbell to get this race started. What is the driver of the number 26 going to do? He's very, very slow on the getaway, not looking like he wants to get going too early, and waiting for that green flag to drop. Campbell holding them for a very long time, and there he starts to go. Not the best start there from Campbell, but clearly just trying to play a little bit of gamesmanship as they went. It looks like it's going to be side by side between Diaz and Ream as they go down into the corner, waiting to see what can happen. Waiting, looking down, and it's still side by side back for second place. Ream trying to get a little bit of a better power away as they work their way up the hill now, going into Coca-Cola. Looks like the rest of the field through nice and cleanly.
And that was a perfect start for Sean Campbell. I shouldn't even be surprised, but he knew exactly what was going to go on in that start. He knew how critical turn 1 was, and he jumped the heck. Well, he didn't jump the start, but he was able to jump away from Michael Diaz. He was able to catch everybody by surprise. Now they're all too busy fighting each other for second while he's just driving off into the sunset right now. Brockway, Watts, Diaz, Ream, they're all over each other, but Sean Campbell, a perfect start. I think he's going to start getting into fuel-saving mode here. He's probably going to back up the pace just a little bit, but he's in control right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's already got about a full second advantage over Justin Ream behind him, as that's a big send for Owen Watts. coming down into the corner, being able to get his way by Adam Brockway and holding that out. Watts not to be denied here today. He's now going to set his sights on Michael Diaz. By the way, Justin Ream has been able to hold on to that P2 position as they work their way through some of the fiddly bits here around this circuit, down through the next corner, trying to see if there's going to be enough of a run, and we get our first taste of what this will be onto the main straightaway right now and starting to get a good helping of the draft.
John Campbell already going snake mode down the front straight. I don't know why. I think he's just trying to amuse himself, frankly, because that BMW, you can see it's pulling away from the McLaren. It's not pulling away that much. I think Sean honestly might not be at 100% throttle right now. I think he might be saving a little bit, but the whole field is just kind of snaking behind him. Justin Ream is stuck a second behind. Michael Diaz in the Mercedes is able to hold Owen Watts off, but you can just see the differences in straight line speed between all the cars in this GT3 Sprint Series. 2 Porsches at the back of the field. I think Brian Hoskins might have gotten in trouble, but yeah, there's quite a separation.
Yeah, there is quite a separation in that draft, really not starting to come into play as much as I thought it would. Ream started to gain a little bit of time here through the first sector. A close battle, though, between Diaz and Watts. That looks like some of the best action that we've got out on track right now as they work their way through 100R right now. Watts trying to find a little bit of an opportunity. I don't think he's going to be able to get it through the hairpin, and indeed he's not, but he is pressuring the back of that Precision Esports car.
Michael Diaz overcooked it just a little bit. He had a better entry, worse exit, evens out, advantage Owen Watts here. But diving into the inside in turn 10 is always difficult. You can get to the inside, but then it becomes the outside, and then with the way Fuji just switches back and back and back, even if you are to the inside there, it's not really an advantage unless you can completely clear the car ahead of you. It's very difficult to make a move at Fuji, which is always frustrating when you know that you're faster than the driver. Owen Watts, I think he knows right now that he has the faster car. He's probably the faster of the drivers right now in this battle, but Michael Diaz in that Mercedes is just strong enough on the straights where it's so important that Owen Watts is just going to have to hope for a mistake, I think, if he wants to make this move.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but let's see here. He will get a helping of the draft from Diaz in front of him, but Diaz is going to be getting a little bit of a helping of that from Ream up ahead of him as well. So a little bit of that draft train, kind of like we talked about last time out at Silverstone, as they now flash their way down. A little bit of a defensive line there from Michael Diaz. Watts trying to find the line to be able to take it. Is he going to look down to the inside? Maybe think about throwing that McLaren in. That's exactly what he's going to do. Tries to be a little bit later onto the binders, is later onto the binders, holds it out a little bit wide, trying to force that Mercedes wide. He does let it a little bit wide, but now as they start to fight their way back up the hill, does Diaz have any response? They've got to be careful. This is allowing for Brockway to turn into this as well, but that's going to be Watts firmly up into third.
You know, Watts kind of outbraked himself into turn 1 and then drove Michael Diaz off the track on the exit. So not the kindest move by Owen Watts there. I'm sure Michael Diaz is probably not going to be too happy about that, but he had to get by eventually. I think it was only a matter of time. So Michael Diaz might be frustrated right now, but he's going to be less frustrated once that McLaren starts riding off into the sunset, I think. But I can't get ahead of myself. Michael's still there. He's in a faster car in a straight line. If he can stick with Watts here through the final sector, through the twisty bits where the McLaren is so strong, he might have a shot to get a little bit of revenge into turn 1.
Certainly might as they break down into the very, very tight Dunlop corner. Not really a chance to get past there. We'll have to see how that Mercedes, though, does in the draft if he's able to keep it up there. They work their way now down through 13, getting into the next corner. A little bit of a brake smoke lock up there as they come. Waiting to see how this is all going to fire off, and through that sector in particular, that group of about 3 or 4 corners, it looked like Watts lost a couple of tenths of a second. That could be a little bit of a death knell to him, but it looks like he's going to have a little bit of a better run out of the final corner than Adam Brockway, and that may be enough to keep him at bay for now.
And Keith Bonilla in the background just clonked the death curb, but I think he's okay for now. I think these GT4 cars are a little bit hardier than the other cars that I've seen race and get killed on those curbs earlier this season. I also think iRacing might have actually updated those curves to be a little bit less deadly. But anyway, Keith Bonilla lives another day. You do have to be careful out there about the off tracks, though. If you don't get damage, you will still get damage to your race with the off tracks. We saw Austin Bartlett chasing the MX-5 race, get that drive through. There's a lot of off track opportunities at Fuji. 40 minutes of racing, and you only get 13 of them, just like in every other road series.
Exactly. As we watch this battle for P3 start to fan itself out just a little bit, it does look like there's a little bit of breathing room that is starting to exist. So that is some good news for, I think, Owen Watts in particular. He can really start to focus up ahead on trying to catch Justin Ream. But Ream is already 1.5 seconds up the road, and Campbell about a second up the road from him.
And I think Campbell is just playing with Justin right now. That could be a much bigger gap. That could be bigger than 1 second, but he's been doing his usual thing. I mean, the first half of the race, he saves all the fuel, and then he runs away at the end. I would say it's predictable, but it's just as impressive every single week how he manages to pull off his strategy every week, and it's working beautifully right now. But Diaz has done better through the twistier sections of the track than I really expected here. We've been watching him for the last lap or so. Watts has certainly been pulling away. Diaz has still been falling back, but it's not been to the same extent that I expected. He's been holding on, but now he's got Brockway behind him in the Aston Martin, kind of a McLaren-Mercedes hybrid if I had to compare it to anything. He's going to get to the back of Diaz on the straight here. I think he's going to be a little bit down in straight line speed, but he might get a shot into turn one. If he forces Michael Diaz off track like Watts did, Michael Diaz is going to be even angrier than he already was.
Yeah, certainly right about that. It's a little bit of an interesting development here. Justin Ream setting the fastest lap of the race and going about a tenth of a lap faster than Sean Campbell. So the race may be on a little bit here up for the front. But as we oftentimes talk about, Campbell so very good on saving fuel in the early stages of these races. So he is not necessarily one to back away from and to be judged on his full pace here early on. Continue to watch this battle. Now, really the intrigue here starting to develop for P4. Diaz falling back a little bit into the clutches of Brockway. Can that Aston Martin be able to make that charge, as you said earlier, Joey?
We'll have to wait and see. He's actually fallen back again in the first sector of the track. It's just interesting to watch. I would prefer if we had a race for the lead, but when we don't have that, we've got to find interest in something. And all season, the difference between all these GT4 cars, it's the Sprint Series, it's an open series, so we also have to think about all the different setups that everybody's taken into consideration here. But this is what I find interesting about GT4 racing, about GT3 racing, but more GT4 racing to this extent. The GT3s on iRacing have been kind of a Mercedes challenge lately. You might say this has been a BMW challenge, but Sean Campbell's been the only one who's been able to find dominant speed out of the BMW. But the McLarens have speed, the Mercedes has speed, the Aston Martin has speed, and they all kind of even out.
Yeah, they really kind of do. A little bit of a wiggle there, it has to be said, for Diaz coming out of that final corner. I think that may be an opportunity here for Brockway. We ride on board with the YS Motorsports GT4 driver. He's going to tuck in behind the 17, just trying to get a full advantage from that draft as they work their way down this interminably long front straightaway. Let's see if he's going to send a big move down to the inside. Not looking like he's going to be able to do it. And they jump onto the binders there into that first corner.
Diaz has been very, very smooth. He's been very, very strong. I thought he might be frustrated by what happened with Owen Watts, but no, Michael has put that into the back of his mind, and he's been driving perfectly fine here. He's been far stronger than a lot of other drivers would be if they were overtaken like that. It wasn't the most egregious thing in the world, but that's just something that's so easy to let that one little nugget of frustration get to you, and then it just compounds over and over and over again. You make more mistakes yourself, but that's the testament of a good driver. You don't let those things get to you. You just get back in business, get back in your rhythm, and Michael Diaz has done exactly that.
Yeah, he certainly has, and Diaz just giving that perfect defense here, and I've got to give him credit. He's not running any opposite lines. He's not running what we would necessarily think of as defensive lines. He's just running his race, and sometimes, Joey, that is the best defense that you can potentially give, is just running a cool, consistent race.
It's the only thing you can do, really, but these two drivers, I should have mentioned this before, they have history this season. Michael Diaz is the driver who kind of robbed Adam Brockway of victory, but at Sandown, I'm sure that's in the back of both of their minds right now. I'm sure they're thinking about 9,000 other things than that, but I'm in the broadcast booth. It's my job to make up storylines here, and I'm gonna say the tempers are gonna flare up here into turn one. Let's see if Brockway can try and get to the inside again.
Well, let's see. Indeed, a little bit more movement there for Brockway coming down the straightaway. That could scrub a little bit of speed. There in the back, we see McLaren poking its nose out. I believe that's Drew Price trying to go to the outside of Lyndon Swaby, and it looks like he's going to at least have that move done. But up here in front, that's not going to play out, as indeed that was Drew Price easily able to get that move done on Lyndon Swaby. By the time they break into turn one, that hard point by Delta Sport driver up and as easy as you please. A little bit more side-by-side between Porsche competitors, Doucette and Carranches. That's going to be Doucette down to the inside.
Just kind of amusing each other a little bit back here. The Porsche, again, we mentioned it in qualifying, not the strongest car, but Doucette and Carranches have stuck with it all season. Seebach has as well, a little bit further back. I think when we get to next season, when they get the opportunity to have a fresh start without taking a 20-point penalty, I can only imagine that they won't be in the Porsche next season. But we'll have to see. We'll see if they stick with it. It's entirely possible. The gap up front has kind of artificially closed down a little bit. Justin Ream is now down to 7 or 8 tenths of a second. Actually, down to 6 tenths of a second under braking there. But if we were to ride on board with Sean Campbell, I think we would hear probably even clutching. He's probably getting to that extreme into some of these braking zones, because this is not the speed that Sean Campbell had in qualifying. This is very much conservative mode.
Well, and that really plays into the fuel strategy that oftentimes we've seen Campbell deploy here. He likes to save fuel early on, but likes to put himself into a position where he can be about a second less in the pit stop, and that can certainly put him into position to just dominate coming out of the pit stop. But Ream, even with all of that, not really looking like he's been able to close down that gap. It's still resolutely holding at about 1 second, and I wonder if that's Campbell a little bit toying with his prey, just not letting him get into that effective draft zone.
Well, the places where Ream closes the gap down are the places where Sean Campbell is saving fuel. Into turn one here was actually pretty even, which tells me that Justin Ream might be doing the same thing and saving a little bit of fuel, but through the twistier sectors of this track where Sean Campbell, I think, is just lifting a little bit more, saving a little bit more, especially into turn 10, where we saw in the previous lap. And also, take the fuel out of consideration. The McLaren is just a better car than the BMW through the twisty sections at Fuji. So that's also why Ream is bringing down the gap just a little bit, but it's also kind of artificially being brought down by the fact that Sean Campbell isn't really going 100% aggressive into these braking zones. He's got the wider race in mind.
Yeah, certainly does have that wider race in mind, and I think that shows you just how smart he is. We also want to tell you that it looks like Brockway was able to get by Michael Diaz there for P4, so that YS Motorsports Aston Martin finally able to get that move done, and now he's going to put his eyes up ahead of him to try to close down on Owen Watts, who's only about 1.7 seconds up the road, but it doesn't look like this fight is done here quite yet from Diaz.
Not over at all. Diaz is not going to give up the fight. It's the second time he's fallen to a driver in this race. He started high up front, fell to second on the start, then lost the spot to Watts, then lost the spot to Brockway. But he's going to want to hemorrhage, whatever the word for the opposite of hemorrhage is. I'm trying to think. Either way, he's trying to stop the bleeding. He's trying to stop falling through the order. Now is not the time to search through my vocabulary books. I'm pretty tired, but Michael Diaz is trying to fall back. He's trying not to fall back. I'm just going to hand this back to you, DJ. My thoughts have been completely discombobulated here by this Diaz battle.
Joey Tebbin there, discombobulated for the final race as they go down into the corner. Diaz certainly looking like he's going to try to fight back just a little bit. But a little bit of a blink there from Brockway. Could that have potentially been what stopped him from being able to make that move? Joey, you know as well as I do, when you've got a driver that's having some of those internet issues that causes those blinkings, that can really scare you as a driver.
Well, it's usually me that's having the internet issues, so I can't really speak from the driver behind. But yeah, that's it. You can't race a car that isn't there, and that's always difficult. It's an interesting part of sim racing that doesn't exist in the real world. In the GT4 races in real life, cars usually don't just disappear from existence in front of you. But it's something you've got to take into consideration. If Diaz was a little bit closer, if they were actually racing wheel-to-wheel into turn one, you don't know where Brockway is, so that does give him a little bit of tentativeness. It forces him to think about making this move in an even weirder way. But it looks like Brockway is back in this plane of existence, so if Diaz does get another shot into turn one, hopefully that blink doesn't happen, and we'll see if he can actually peek to the inside again.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he is able to do it. The gap in front of the field, by the way, has come down a little bit. Ream been able to close that down to about 6-7 tenths of a second. So as they work their way through the final couple of corners here, could we see a little bit of a draft coming into play? Let's keep our eyes focused here and keep an eye on this. Like I said, I had a little bird tell me that after about the start-finish line, it's the absolute afterburners here for the BMW, even without the draft. Helping them out, that they should be able to pull away. So that top speed of the BM, really, really good stuff. But it does look like Ream is closing down and continuing to close. That gap holding down at about 3.5 tenths of a second. By the time they dive into the braking zone, it'll be about 4 tenths of a second. This race may not be done here, Joey.
I want to believe that. I really do, but it's the siren that has kind of drawn us in every single week. Sean Campbell backs up here. He lets Ream into the fight, and then after the pit cycle, he just runs away from the challenger who's challenging him. But if I'm Justin Ream right now, if Sean Campbell is playing games with me, I'm gonna take him by surprise. I might just send a move into turn 10 if I can get close enough, and I might not win the race overall. Sean might have saved enough fuel to jump me in the pits no matter what I do, but how often do you get close to Sean Campbell in a race? How often do you get a chance to make a move? Unfortunately, his best opportunity in turn 10 has kind of been taken away from him because he didn't get the best exit in the world out of the hairpin there, so he's going to have to wait again until the straight, where the McLaren is not fast enough compared to the BMW to go for the move into turn 1. It is just such a frustrating battle when you're in a subpar car. You want to get by Sean Campbell right now, but you just can't unless he makes a mistake. And again, we've said the same thing every week. Those mistakes don't come from Sean Campbell.
No, they certainly don't, but there you can see Ream starting to get a little bit of experimental there coming out of Net's corner, trying to take some alternate lines to maybe carry that momentum as they now work their way through the final corner. He is a lot closer than he was last time. It was about 7/8 tenths of a second on that last run. Now as they pull off into the main straightaway here, that McLaren closing it down. It's coming under 3.5 tenths here before they even get to the start-finish line. Ream coming on strong. The gap now under 3 tenths, under 2 tenths. Under 1/10 here as they come. Is he gonna go? Here comes Justin Ream doing the unthinkable, trying to make the pass here on Sean Campbell. Down into turn 1. Is Ream gonna be later onto the binders? Yes, he is. Little bit of front to back contact potentially, and they're side by side.
Luckily, there was a little bit of air between the two cars. There was no contact there, but Justin Ream has taken the lead from Sean Campbell on track. Again, I'm very cynical. I'm thinking about the grand scheme of the race. I'm thinking about the absolute gallons of fuel that Sean Campbell's probably saving. But he's not content with second. He's still going to fight back. He wants that lead back. Around the outside goes Sean, and as quickly as he lost it, as quickly as he gets it back. Justin Ream had a beautiful quarter of a lap to be in the lead of the GT4 race in the PRL, and it's just been taken away from him again.
But this battle certainly isn't done yet quite so quickly. Ream holding on about 2/10 of a second behind as they dive their way down into the Dunlop corner right now. I think this battle is going to be continued to play out here. Let's wait and see as they go. And now working their way through here. These are the corners that are absolutely crucial for Ream. He has really and truly got to nail this to be able to have any hope at a run. Maybe learn a little bit from what he did last time and try to be able to get a better run on Sean Campbell.
He might be able to go for it again, but he's going to have to make sure he takes turn 1 better. That's all I can say. He overcooked it just a little bit. That's what allowed Campbell to get the switch back, and that's what allowed Campbell to retake the lead into the sector of the track where the McLaren should really be strong. But let's see if the same thing happens on the front straight here. Campbell should just be running away from Ream right now, but he's not. I don't know what specifically he's doing. The Sean Campbell toolbox is kind of a mystery to me, but he's saving fuel. He continues to save fuel down the front straight. Justin Ream not able to get quite as close as he was the last time, but look at Brockway on Owen Watts. I didn't think this was going to happen. I think Owen Watts might be in fuel save mode too, but Brockway's just going to drive right by him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Watts maybe trying to take a leaf out of Sean Campbell's book here as they go, but it looks like Watts is trying to fight back a little bit. Watts going to be able to hold on to that advantage over Adam Brockway, but they've got to be careful as Diaz is starting to bring himself in here a little bit as well. There they go down now through the corners, working their way around. This isn't really the area you can get an overtake done, but this is an area where you can set yourself up to be able to have a chance.
This has allowed Michael Diaz to kind of get back in the fray here. He got swallowed up by both of these drivers. I thought he was going to stick with Adam Brockway. He wasn't quite able to, but now that they're fighting, Michael makes this a 3-car battle for the podium, and About 5 seconds back is Jerome Bertiome. He's looking to pick up the pieces if anything bad happens with these three. But I always say that. I always talk about drivers being ready to pick up the pieces, and especially in this series, those pieces usually don't fall apart. There's usually not much to pick up because there's usually fairly clean racing and fairly clean action here. But Brockway is going to be all over the back of Watts again. He doesn't even need to nail the last corner, I don't think. He just needs to have a perfectly reasonable last corner, and he's going to have another shot at him.
Yeah, I certainly think he is as well. And what is Diaz going to be able to do here in response to all of this as well? He's back in the popcorn position right now, just ready to be able to do it. We take a look at the front of the field here, the gap coming down under 0.2 of a second. This is Ream closer than he was last time around. He's already going to have a poke down to the inside, carrying that overspeed there in the McLaren across the start-finish line, trying to see if he's able to get anything, as he's going to have to get onto the binders here sooner rather than later. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers going down into the corner. Ream's got a nose ahead. He tries to get onto the power, and he's got it. He is ahead of Sean Campbell.
For now, though, we've got a little bit of a straight here into Coca-Cola, into turn 3, but Campbell's not able to get by this time. So Justin Ream has more officially taken the lead than last time. Campbell's not quite able to instantly take the lead back like he was before. Around the outside in 100R, he did it last time, but he's not close enough this time. But now we think, when does Sean Campbell come in? We're past halfway in the race. He normally stretches it for as long as he possibly can, but
Ream runs wide.
Oh, and he's still got the momentum. He's still okay, but that's one mistake. Sean Campbell's going to pounce. We'll see if he decides to send it to the inside of turn 10. Nobody's been able to do that all day, but Campbell's having a little bit of fun. Why not get to the inside? But no, he thinks better of that. He backs up. He's going to stay in line.
Ooh, big hop at the curve there, though, for Justin Ream coming down into the Dunlop corner. That could come back to hurt him just a little bit. Campbell has a little bit of a look there going down into turn 13, just trying to apply some pressure to the back of the geodesic driver, it looks like. And just as quick as you please, I didn't even notice this, Joey, but we are down under halfway to go here in the race. So when are these drivers going to be thinking about coming down pit lane? Obviously, we know the answer for Sean Campbell. That's going to be as late as possible.
Justin Ream, I don't know what he's going to be able to do. He's been behind Campbell. He's been able to save fuel behind Sean, but he's probably been pushing full bore to get by Sean while Sean's been saving fuel. But now I think we're going to see the full grunt of the BMW here in the front straight. No, we're not. Sean Campbell's going to tease me a little bit. Nope, just kidding. He's switched his mind about 3 times coming down the front straight. I thought he was actually going to stick in the draft again and save even more fuel, but no, he's finally going to show us the real potential of the BMW. And it's like he didn't even have to try on the straight. He just peeks to the inside, he feathers it a little bit, and he blows by Justin Ream. That is how strong this BMW is in a straight line. And unless Sean Campbell makes a mistake while he's kind of fooling around here, I hate to finish off the race like that, but it's his race to lose.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be a question to see if Ream is going to be able to close in behind, but we still have this battle here for the 3rd place position, the final spot on the podium. Adam Brockway looking particularly strong here as they go down through the corners, trying to close in behind just a little bit, trying to see what he's able to do on the back of Owen Watts. Only about 3 seconds back of trying to see if they are able to close in on Campbell. Campbell is stretching his legs up in front there, the gap extending to about 0.5 of a second.
Brockway just has not had the exits he needs. In all the places where he can make a move on this track, he's not been able to get the exit that he needs. Through the final corner, Owen Watts is so much stronger. That McLaren, again, we've mentioned it all night, it is so much quicker through these twisty bits, these off-camber corners, these awkward braking zones, the final sector of the track. Watts has been running a little bit of a tighter line, but no matter what he's doing, it is faster than what Adam Brockway is doing. Brockway runs wider through the final corner. He tries to hit a late apex. This is actually going to look pretty good, and Brian Hoskins, a lap car, is going to kill Owen Watts' run here. That's exactly what Brockway needed, but we'll see if he has the straight line speed to overhaul Owen Watts.
And Ream is coming down pit lane. Ream into pit lane early, so we've got the first of our pitters really starting to fire off here. Also looks like Michael Diaz is going to come in as well, but we ride on board with the YS Motorsports GT4 driver of Adam Brockway. He's going to have a look to the outside. Almost contact there between himself and Owen Watts as they come down now into that first turn around the outside, trying to hold it, running a little bit wide as Brockway, and Watts able to hold it out.
I don't know why Adam Brockway went to the outside there. I don't understand that move. That was never going to work, and it didn't work for Adam Brockway, unfortunately. I think it was just last-second indecisiveness, a little bit of little bit of discombobulation with the lapped car as well, and just a little bit of confusion. Went to the outside and move didn't work, but he'll get another shot at it. Let's watch Justin Ream here in the pit box. That's a pretty long stop. That's too long of a stop. What is going on with Justin Ream? He's got an extra 8 seconds in the box, 10 seconds. He's still in there.
Oh my goodness gracious! Could this potentially be a
tires.
spit lane penalty? Tires or a pit lane speeding penalty?
I don't think it would be a pit lane speeding penalty. That would be pretty hard to get, but he's still sitting there. If it was tires, it would be like 30 seconds, but it's more like 40 seconds right now. It only takes about 17 seconds to put fuel in the car. So if he jumps out here at 47 seconds, 48 seconds, 50 seconds, I don't think it's tire. Oh, he just hopped up off the jacks. It might have been tires, but we'll have to check a replay to see what his speed was at the pit entry.
All right, well, that could be a guaranteed win here now for Sean Campbell, your leader. Let's watch as he comes on in. I don't really see any brake lockup or anything like that. It might have been an
unsafe pit entry. I've seen this happen before. At Fuji, you have to enter pit lane, or the pit entry lane so early, and it's kind of confusing. Yep, that's exactly what he did. See that painted white line there? You have to enter way further back when that white line starts. Justin Ream waited too long, and he crossed over the white line. You see in the back of your screen there, the start of the white line, that's where you have to enter, and Justin Ream waited way, way too long. I think he might have been distracted by being so close to Sean Campbell, and that's why he got a penalty, and that's going to be the end of Justin Ream's race here.
Oh my goodness gracious, you hate to see that for such a tenacious competitor like Justin Ream. And just like that, Sean Campbell now coming down into pit lane, going to give the control of the race over here, it looks like, to Nicholas Carangis and Greg Doucette. Those Porsches going to be able to lead a lap as they go. Campbell already back out and into third place. He will re-inherit the lead of the race over Owen Watts and Adam Brockway.
Carangis and Doucette, how about this? Getting a chance to lead a couple laps. It's not gonna win him the race, but I always love to see some drivers stretching it out. Maybe that Porsche is a little bit less fuel thirsty than we thought. It's great to see Carangis and Doucette finishing off the season with a little bit of TV time up front. Always like to shout out these Porsches, the Throttle Thursday team. These guys have stuck it out with an unpopular car, a car that is likely not able to win races in GT4 machinery on iRacing, but Carangis is going to get a chance to lead a lap, and that's as good as you can ask for. Get a lap led, get an extra point, get yourself on RaceSpotTV. That's as good as a win. Not really, but maybe.
But maybe. It's a moral victory. Let's go with that. As we do watch Carangis leading by about 0.4 of a second over Doucette as they work their way down through these last couple of corners here. And those pit stops really have kind of separated out the rest of the field here as they run. Not a lot of big gaps existing across the field. Everything has pretty much spaced itself out pretty evenly.
I think we'll see both of these guys come down. Yep, and now you'll see the correct way to enter the pits. Enter early, there's the white line, and Carangis and Doucette, they enter the pits. They do not jump over the pit entry blend line there, and the two Porsches finally come in, and they're going to give the lead back to Sean Campbell, who is going to be very, very comfortably in the lead. He was actually 1 second longer in the pit stall than Michael Diaz was. Sean Campbell spent 13.4 seconds in the pit stall. Michael Diaz spent 12.3 seconds. So did Michael Diaz put too little fuel in the car? Or was Sean Campbell just playing with us and not actually saving fuel? I don't know, but yet again in a GT4 race, the fuel strategy is a little bit of a mystery, and I'm slightly worried for Michael Diaz now.
Yeah, as am I. That's a very, very quick pit stop, and he is going to have to be very, very hesitant on that loud pedal here as he works his way around, or else he knows something that we don't. He was, I will say, in contrast, he was able to stick behind Diaz and Watts and Brockway over the course of the earlier parts of that first stint. So he may have been able to do a little bit of lift and coast behind them, and that could be the one saving grace here for that number 17.
Yeah, but Sean Campbell was also doing lift and coast for the entire first 25 minutes of the race, and he was in the box for a second longer. So I don't know. We haven't seen a driver run out of fuel, I don't think. We haven't seen a miscalculation of fuel, and we haven't seen a driver running out in the last lap so far this season, but every time it worries me. I hope it works out for Michael Diaz, but he also came in 1 lap earlier than everybody else who he's fighting with. So in addition to the fact that he might have put less fuel in the car, he's also been out there for an extra lap, so I hope you've calculated it right, Michael. I'm still worried for you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried as well, and he does have Brockway to worry about coming up behind him. Watts is about a second back. Brockway's about a second back. This is really one of our closest battles out on track right now, really and truly. The unfortunate thing is here is they're just going to be getting a little bit of a whiff of that slipstream, not too much of it as they go down the main straightaway, so it's not like they're going to be able to close in massively, although as I say that, Owen Watts is pulling in on the back of Michael Diaz. He's got it down under about 9/10 of a second here, just barely under 9/10 for them to come in, so we'll have to see what he's able to do as they work their way through Daichi, that first corner, and work their way through the twisting back half of this track.
This is the good thing about being in a booth with DJ Clark. You learn the names of corners that you've never heard before. I've never heard that corner called Daichi, but you learn something new every day. That's why you tune in to GT4 Sprint on RaceSpot. You learn corner names that you never knew before.
It's just what my little track guide is teaching me, that it says Daichi, so I could be very wrong about that. Booth, if you know anything, or if you audience, if you know anything that I'm wrong about that, please feel free to tell me. But they work their way around. It does look like Brockway's been able to close a little bit more on Watts than Watts has on Diaz. That gap still hovering at about under a second here as they go. Diaz able to open up to about 1.1. We ride on board right now with the Aston Martin driver of Adam Brockway. As we said, 8.5 of a second as they work their way through next corner, trying to see if he's able to keep that closer. I've got to think if he can keep this gap relatively standard, relatively as it is right now, he's going to have a decent shot at a good run here down the long straightaway.
And he's got a decent shot at a podium, especially if Michael Diaz runs out of fuel here. But we'll see the Aston Martin versus the McLaren. Michael Diaz leading trains, doing a little bit of a snake up front. Doesn't look like the gap's going to change much. It's about 8/10 between every single one of them. And yeah, it's not really coming down, but we do approach Daichi here. And I did check all the way back in 1965. That corner's been called Daichi for almost 60 years. And I never knew that, but I'm looking at the original Fuji Speedway layout right now. I'm sure the folks in the chat know the history of Fuji. They know the original high-speed layout. I think we should bring that into existence on iRacing. I think we should do an iRacing Super Speedway situation. Let's build old Fuji as a fantasy track, because that thing seems pretty incredible.
Oh, if we're going to build an old track, I say we build old Hockenheim. That's what I want to see built. But I wouldn't say no to an old high-speed Fuji as well. Either one of those two. Anything that you can really let the some of the classic cars loose on, Joey, that would just be absolutely incredible to see.
Let's go a little bit further away from Japan and Germany. I say Trenton. Give me Trenton.
Spoken like a true American. I'm there for that. Let's have the kidney bean. Let's have a right turn on an oval.
And it would be the first real track in New Jersey on iRacing. We got New Jersey Motorsports Park, but that's still a tech track. I'm begging you, iRacing, if you're listening, please finish that track. I want to drive in New Jersey on iRacing. But anyway, we're racing in virtual Japan, and I'm thinking about New Jersey. When does that ever happen?
I think that may be the first time in the history of racetracks that thought has crossed somebody's mind, but I'm still here for it nonetheless. We keep our eyes focused on this battle, though, between Diaz, Watts, and Brockway. Brockway getting a very good run there off of Panasonic corner, and look at that. Michael Diaz feeling the pressure there a little bit, throwing a weave into the equation, but Brockway closing down here. He is going to be under half a second as they run, and this could be a little bit of a close-in. Let's see. Looks like he's stalling a little bit, but the Aston Martin starts to gather speed as they cross over the start-finish line. Still not going to be close enough to send a move.
He needs a mistake from Owen Watts, I think. As seems to be the case with every single battle in this race, you need a mistake through the final corner to really maximize that exit if you're not in a BMW. Every single other car is how those words are sequenced. They need a mistake from the other car to kill the momentum, to give them a little bit of help down the front straight. And that's what Adam Brockway really needs here. But through the first sector, through the middle sector as well, he's done a very good job of sticking with Watts. He clips the grass a little bit on the inside of 100R. You've got to be careful doing that. It's easy to spin. But Brockway's there. He's all over the back of Owen Watts. Watts clogs the curb a little bit. Brockway can stick with him through the last sector. This is his best shot yet.
Yeah, he's just got to stick through him here, and thankfully these GT4s don't have nearly as much aerodynamics as their big brothers, the GT3 counterparts, so you're not going to have to worry about too much aero wash. The other thing that's going to be nice here is that particularly going through Dunlop and down through Nets, those are slow to medium speed corners, so the aero wash isn't going to be nearly as massive, but still, you watch there as Brockway taking a little bit of an alternate line, trying to get as much clean air to the front of that Aston Martin Vantage GT4 as possible. So a good way to be able to run that, and look there again, carrying that outside line around, trying to just get momentum. He's now going to be about 0.3 of a second behind, and Watts, I think, knows that he is doing some massive weaving here down the front straight.
Michael Diaz is doing some huge weaving as well, and I don't think that's entirely necessary. I think he's actually slowing himself down more than he's breaking the draft at all there. But we don't have to worry about him right now unless he runs out of fuel. The battle is really between Watts and Brockway. But Brockway, again, just not fast enough in a straight line, not even close to being able to peek to the inside of Owen Watts and send a little bit of a dive. But he's been strong through the middle sectors. If he can stick a little bit closer through 100R, through the hairpin. I've mentioned the turn 10 passing opportunity all race long. Nobody's really gone for it. But Brockway's going to start getting desperate here. There's only 2 laps to go, and if he wants to make the move, if he wants to end the season on the podium, he's going to have to do something a little bit different, and he's not going to get another turn 1 chance, most likely.
Yeah, you're very right about that. I think Watts knows where that move's coming, and he has already prepared himself to be able to hold on to that move as much as possible. We watch them there as they come out of the exit of the hairpin, working their way towards turn 10, towards the Dunlop corner. As you said, Joey, that is an overtaking opportunity, but it just doesn't quite look like here that Adam Brockway is going to be close enough to be able to get that move on Watts. And indeed, as they dive down into the very, very sharp right-hander, it doesn't look like it's close enough. 3.5 of a second separating those two, though, as they come to the 2 to the go line here across the start finish.
Trying to think about the timing here. Is it going to be 2 to go, or is it going to be 1 to go? I think it is going to be 2 to go. You're right. I was miscalculating, I think, with somebody's pit in lap, so my lap times were all wrong. But you're right, it is 2 to go here. I think Michael Diaz is completely safe here. He's shown no signs of having to save a ton of fuel. He ducks to the inside of the track, but he's not coming to pit lane to put more fuel in the car. Owen Watts is actually a lot closer to him than he was previously, but that Mercedes is just running away in a straight line again. We'll ride on board with Brockway. We'll see what the draft can do for him. And unfortunately, the answer to what the draft can do for him is absolutely nothing. He's actually losing ground to Watts into turn 1. I'm sure he could think about peeking into the inside and sending something down, but not close enough that time. He's going to wait. He's going to put a little bit of a bumper to him, actually, in turn 1, but the chances are running out for Brockway. He's going to have 1 more shot at turn 1 and 1 more shot, 2 more shots, actually, at every single other corner.
Yes, he will. The question's going to be is if he can make either of those work out for him. Continue to watch this battle. Campbell about 6 seconds up the road, so he doesn't have too much to worry about in the form of this battle. He's just running his own race. But yeah, as you said, that's the caution that we said about Diaz maybe underfueling the car doesn't quite look like it's going to come into play. Continue to watch here as they now work their way through the right-hander, bringing themselves back out onto this little mini straight before we get down into turn 10. Doesn't look like anybody's going to go for the move there, although that is Watts getting a little bit closer to the back of Diaz than we've seen him before. They now throw a blanket over these three, one more time onto the long front straightaway. One more dive into turn 1. What is going to happen?
Michael Diaz is really backing it up here. That tells me that he's a little bit close on fuel. Maybe very close on fuel. Maybe not even enough fuel to make it to the end. Watts just going to drive straight by him here to the inside. Michael Diaz is in danger here. Luckily, he's going to have a little bit of draft from Watts here down the front straight. But I don't think that was just a bad corner. I think Michael Diaz might be in a little bit of trouble here down the front straight. Adam Brockway has actually disappeared completely. I can't even see him on our screen. There he is. Now he pops out of the bottom. Michael Diaz is just hanging out behind Owen Watts here. He knows he has a straight line speed advantage, but I think he's thinking fuel. If he isn't, or if he is, well, just throw that out the window because he does peek to the inside of Owen Watts here. But I think he's going to have to save a little bit more fuel. You saw how slow he was through the final sector on that last lap.
Yeah, you certainly did, but he is ahead here at this point, so if fuel is an issue, he's got to be really creative about it. There's a little bit of a look for Owen Watts coming down to the inside. That's not going to play itself out. They work their way through the Coca-Cola corner right now, and it doesn't look like Watts is going to be able to get that move coming down into 100R. They try to see, as they work their way through this long, sweeping right-hander down into the hairpin, there's a little bit of a look there for Owen Watts, trying to get a little bit of a crossover potentially. Diaz doesn't really defend that all that well. That's going to open up an opportunity here for Watts to maybe try to sweep around the outside of 300R, but that's not going to play itself out. Now, as we come down into Dunlop, is this the area? Look at that crossover. Smart stuff there for Watts, but is that going to be close enough to do it? And keep an eye on Brockway. Contact there between 1 and 2. Brockway able to pick the pocket there of Owen Watts. That was a fantastic move.
Now Brockway needs to do exactly what Owen Watts did in the previous lap through the last sector. Take advantage of Diaz's lack of strength here and pounce. Diaz is out of fuel, is he, or is he just slow? I don't know, but Brockway's gonna pop around the outside of him, or at least he's gonna try. He's there, and he's through.
Brockway on through on a heads-up last sequence of corners there. He's just got to keep everything wound up out and under him. And there comes Owen Watts on a big charge. Meanwhile, crossing the start-finish line is Sean Campbell to take your victor. But we've got to keep our eyes here on this. Here comes Owen Watts, the draft coming into a big play. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. Watts is ahead. Watts takes the checkered. And by a mere 12 thousandths of a second, Owen Watts holds on to P2.
The straight line speed of the McLaren really works out. Michael Diaz did run out of fuel coming to the line. Jerome Berthiaume is going to finish 4th instead of Michael Diaz. I think we also lost Justin Ream on the last lap, but Sean Campbell, we can only apologize for missing you crossing the line, but it's the 10th win for Sean Campbell. Every single race this season, he has won. And unless for some reason we go back to 12 race PRL seasons, that record will never be beaten. It will only be tied. But let's look at that run to the line again. That's pretty incredible.
Just an incredible heads up there from Owen Watts, recognizing what he needed to do, and you can see crossing over the line, 12 thousandths of a second separating those two. That is called timing to perfection, folks.
And he's lucky, I think, that Michael Diaz was running out of fuel there. They went 3 wide almost coming into the final corner. Watts was able to get by just in time to get to Brockway, and you can see the gap at the line. We rotate here. That's nothing. Adam Brockway, I'm sure, was leaning forward a little bit. He might have been able to defend a little bit harder, slow Watts down, but he knew that McLaren was much, much faster in a straight line, and Owen Watts ends the season P2.
Great run there for Owen Watts. That is how you get it done here at Fuji International Speedway. My goodness, for a little bit of the doldrums that existed in the middle of that race, I've got to tell you, Joey, that certainly turned out to be a cracker of a finish there at the end. Some really, really incredible stuff. Also hearing, by the way, from Justin Ream that his power went out, and that is what put him back down in the order. But here is your final finishing order from Fuji. Sean Campbell doing the unthinkable, 10-4-10. Owen Watts behind Tim, able to take that victory by 12 thousandths of a second over Adam Brockway. Jerome Berthiaume able to pick the pocket of Michael Diaz at the start-finish line there with Diaz running out of fuel. Behind them, Darren Rutherford, Lyndon Swaby, Nicholas Carangis, Greg Doucette, and Drew Price round out your top 10. Then in 11th place, it was Keith Bonilla, followed by Matt Dinsmore, Jeffrey Seabach, and Brian Hoskins. Justin Ream there obviously rounding out your top 15. And Joey, I gotta tell you, I love this place. This put on one heck of a spectacle here today.
It did, and it's a good thing we added Fuji. I wish it was a little bit closer. I wish there was a little bit less of a straight line speed advantage for the BMW, but we've got an iRacing off-season coming up. I'm sure there will be all sorts of updates. There will be all sorts of BOP changes. And when we come to the GT3 fixed series next season, I should add, it's not going to be an open series next season. It's going to be fixed. I hope we'll see a little bit more parity with the cars, and I think we probably will.
I think we probably will as well, as it looks like we have our 4th place finisher here, Jerome Berthiaume, ready to join us here in the interview booth. And Jerome, I want to start at the end there, my friend, able to take the spot away from Michael Diaz. Did you have any idea that was going to be popping on through there?
Oh, he missed fuel, so that's what happened to him. So I got lucky. But yeah, I got slowed a little bit at the beginning with my poor start, and I was behind Bonilla, and it was kind of hard to overtake him. So I think that maybe I could have fight with these guy, but yeah, it was too late. The gap was not there at the end.
A little bit unfortunate for you on that. We would have loved to have seen you fight. But how did you find the track? Obviously, the first time the series has been able to visit this Fuji circuit. How was it for you?
It's fun. It's really fun, and it's really good for the BMW with that super long straight. So it was very, very helpful. I did learn the track yesterday actually. So yeah, it was kind of hard to learn because you really need to use the entire track, and as soon as you messed up a corner, you can lose easy half a second. So you really need to nail it perfectly to have consistent lap. But yeah, it's a very, very fun track.
A very fun track indeed. And well, as we look ahead to next season, want to ask you what some of your goals are, how you think it's going to go, any tracks you maybe want to see on the schedule.
Please, Sebring. Please, Sebring. That's my favorite track. So I hope Sebring is gonna be there. I think it's there. I saw that on the iRacing forum in the schedule they released there. So I will surely looking forward for this track.
Well, I hope it's there as well, as that's one of my favorite tracks in person and here on the sim. But Jerome, for the season, for today, anybody you'd like to thank?
Thanks to you guys. Thanks for broadcasting. Thanks to all the members who joined that amazing series. We had a lot of fun. Thanks to all the watchers, and thanks to our sponsor, partner VCO, Race Lab, Butt Kicker, Advanced Sim Racing, Ninja Trader, and also a new partner that we just announced on Facebook on the social media, Racebox. So thanks to all the PRL partner.
Well, all right. Always love to hear some new sponsors coming into the season. And Jerome, congratulations on a fantastic run. We will see you next season, my friend.
Thank you guys. See ya.
All right. That was your fourth place finisher, Jerome Bertiom. And Joey, I believe you've been able to catch up with Michael Diaz, our fifth place finisher.
Yes, I am. Well, Michael, the obvious thing we've got to talk about, what happened with the fuel at the end there?
So I have this free software, and that's what happens when you use free stuff.
Oh no. Make sure you don't name the specific
I won't, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Shame.
I missed I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the man of the hour.
No, I was gonna say I missed half a liter, and I was fighting these guys and saving fuel. It was epic.
So what was that like on the last lap? Did you think you could stretch it, or in that second stint as a whole, did you think you could stretch it to the end, or was it going to be impossible to stretch that much?
I thought I was good. I double checked, like I asked the software, and they said, "No, you're good." And then white flag, "Hey, you need 1 more liter." And then I started saving fuel. I thought I maybe can make it, but no, it was just too much at the end.
Well, I'm going to look forward to next season here. Sean Campbell kind of wiped the season here. He won every single one of the races, didn't really leave you any opportunities, but he's moving up to the GT3s next season, and I see that you are signed up for the GT4s next season. What do you think is going to come in next season?
I don't know. I'm just here for fun, honestly. Like, I missed a bunch of races because of real life, and yeah, I just showed up and have fun with these guys. So I'm just looking forward to have more fun next season, and I hope a few guys come back and we can race again. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to having you back next season, and congrats on some good runs tonight. And hopefully there's better luck with the fuel in race one next season.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, thanks guys for the broadcast, and shout out to our sponsors and to my teammate and boss Jerome. See you guys next season.
Precision Racing Esports company man Michael Diaz. But DJ, I asked Sean Campbell very kindly, are we going to get a champions interview? We are indeed.
Sean Campbell, 10 for 10, my friend. Congratulations.
Thanks. I don't know what to say. I'm not that good at this interview part since I've only done one.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it was a good race, honestly. Racing with Justin. It's a shame that his power went out, but it was looking really good for the first half. especially when we started going side by side, probably about a third of the way through.
Well, talk me through that a little bit. That side by side battling that you had when you were in there, we were kind of wondering if you were still in fuel save mode and holding something a little bit back. Were you doing that? And was that an all out attack once Justin got by you?
For the first, before he got to me, for the first, I guess, third of the race, I was not fuel saving at all. But I was just trying to get him out of the draft, basically, because with the top speed of the M4, I could have just ran away. But he did really well to keep up. So I started kind of letting it back so that he would catch up. Like not intentionally, obviously, but like I just started chilling because I knew I wasn't gonna get away. And then when he started overtaking me, or then when we started battling, I turned the wick on. I wanted to have fun, right? And I did fuel save a little bit when he was ahead of me for a couple of those laps.
Well, the fuel saving currently clearly would have helped you out, I think, in the long run. But obviously, we know you're making the switch to next season. Are you excited about it? What are the changes going to be like for you, and how is that preparation going to change going into the new cars?
We hope the Mercedes isn't as good, or at least every other car is better. I'm excited. I've been mainly doing GT3. Really, I wanted to do this series to learn how to drive GT4, but I put way more practice into the car at the beginning of the season than I thought I would. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna run with it, you know? And so I did a bunch of practice with the car, and now I know GT4, which is nice, because that's another thing I can do. But GT3 is mainly what I do. And I'm excited to see how that goes, because I saw the competition last season was really, really good.
Well, I'm very excited to see how it plays as well. But Sean, is there anybody you'd like to thank for this season, for the perfect season, and for a victory here today?
Am I allowed to say Nicolas Cage?
Yes, you are.
All right. Well, firstly, him. Secondly, all the guys at RSR. And Ted, especially, because he keeps tuning in. He might be here. He might not be. He might be in the Discord. But yeah. And
well,
Justin,
all right. Go ahead.
Justin and Owen and Michael. I nearly forgot. I wanted to say that for the whole season, right? It's like if I would have gotten 10 wins, but I didn't get 10 poles, right? There was a battle the entire season, and I would not have wanted it any other way.
Well, I love to hear that competitor's edge out of you here, Sean, and congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the perfect season, and we'll see you next year.
All right. See ya.
All right, that was your perfect season champion, Sean Campbell. And Joey, sadly, that's going to wrap us up here for another season of PRL action on Monday nights. But it has been an absolute treat to be able to bring this kind of action to you out on the screen.
It has. MX-5s, of course, the first thing we see on every Monday night. Those have just been incredible. A wild season. Bradley Holly won 7 races out of the 10, but it certainly didn't seem like that. It seemed like just about everybody had a shot at all those wins. And the GT4s, Sean Campbell, kind of underselling himself a little bit. He was absolutely dominant, but like he said, he was correct in saying that he did have to fight for every single one of those wins. It's not like he just stomped on the field. It's not like he just ran away. He had some very, very sturdy competition, and he has won 10 races. And unless Jerome is listening and he's going to expand a future season of the PRL to 12 races like they did in some of the earlier seasons, that record will never be beaten. That will be a forever record. It can only be tied, and I think it's very unlikely that it ever will be tied.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there about that. It is nearly insurmountable, and it just goes to show you the absolute raw talent that is Sean Campbell. But for all of us here at RaceSpot, including myself, TJ Clark, and Joey Tebben, as well as Connery Maddock behind the scenes, it has been an absolute pleasure bringing you the action tonight, as well as over the course of the entire season. And it's time for us to step away. We will be back, though, in about 3 weeks' time for the start of a new season. But until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.